think while I lie awake and contemplate tonight, wearing me out. Well, maybe tomorrow the world will wake and get it right, but I have my doubts, yeah. So during the day, well, I design machines of war that scream through the sky. 'Cause I, for one, I like to go to bed free at night, under these stars and stripes. And I have my doubts that we're coming out. Yes, I have my doubts. And I have my doubts that we'll make it back out. Yes, I have my doubts. But they'll wind you up and pull the cord until you're spun right out. And I don't understand. So roll the dice and raise the price to feed the machine's mouth. Call it the progress of man. Yes, I have my doubts. And I have my doubts that we'll make it back out. And I have my doubts. So I'll drink my stuff and raise some hell and shoot my guns to the end of my time. You can have the booze and go to hell and take the guns, but I know they won't be mine. And I have my doubts that we're coming out. Yes, I have my doubts. And I have my doubts that we'll make it back up. I have my doubts. So we're all messed up and out of touch. Let's text someone who's in the other room. So don't wonder why we don't say hi or know anyone. I might as well move to the moon. So maybe I'm wrong. Well, I hope that I'm wrong. So maybe I'm wrong. Well, I hope that I'm wrong. Well, the things I think, well, I lie awake and contemplate at night.
Good afternoon. Man, I am beat tired today. I think I got 30 minutes, maybe 45 minutes, I'm thinking, of sleep. Pardon me. So I'm definitely not firing on all cylinders today, so I'm lucky to be firing at all. Oh, man, I'll tell you what. I couldn't get comfortable. And once I got halfway comfortable, my sinuses started bothering me. And not only did I have sinus problems, but for whatever reason, my chest tightened up, like really tight. And it actually kind of scared me to stay laying down. So I wound up sitting up for much of the night, actually. because it wasn't so bad if I was setting up right. But boy, once I laid down, it just got tight. And well, it is what it is. But I'm sure I'm going to sleep like a baby tonight. That's the good thing. I need a good, just absolutely just die. Man. So anyway, don't have anything in particular to talk about today other than I've got some good news. But we will get to that momentarily. Pardon my coughing. So let's see here. Let me get this screen over here. We'll run through the normal stuff and then we'll kind of go from there. Amazon affiliate, we are up to $16.84. So I want to thank those that participate in that program. For those that don't know, there's a link in the description of the videos as well as the homepage of thewatchmannews.com at the very top right there. And if I mumble jumbo, forgive me. Anyway, if you click that link, it takes you to Amazon. And if you make purchases from Amazon after going through that link, it doesn't cost you anything more and it throws a little bit our way. We've got an Amazon store over there as well. That should be pretty self-explanatory. We do have items on Teespring. I did not get another item up on Teespring. My apologies for that. I know that was one of my goals for over the weekend, and it just did not happen. So if anybody's interested in the stuff that we design, just go to thewatchmannews.com and just scroll down on the homepage. Right now we've got 4 designs. It's not just T-shirts. There's a bunch of different products. So, but there's 4 designs on those plethora of products. So, and I will be adding more designs. I intended to add another one over the weekend, and it just did not happen. So, there was one thing I want to show you, and it goes into what the good news. It goes into what I was really excited about today, regardless of how tired I am. If I click our priority list, you will see that there is not something on that list. The drone. I was actually able to purchase it yesterday, and so it came in today. And I've spent a fair part of the day messing around with it. I did shoot some video, but it's really, really poor video. And the reason why is because the SD card that I have is really old. And it's like a Class C4 card, I think it was, which is way, way, way underrated for what I need. So I just need to order me a U3, I think it's a class. I just need to get a U3 card, not a big deal. And once I do that, then I will most definitely show you guys some video that comes from the drone. Of course, it was the Potenzic D58. It was just the drone with a single battery. No case, no 2 batteries, just the single battery with the drone. That is why I have the case and the battery up there, because I am going to be getting on that as quickly as possible. So definitely that case, because I want to make sure that I've got a way to protect that. They're very delicate pieces of machinery, very delicate. That thing it's incredible. And I did shoot a video with my other camera today of it coming home by itself, but it didn't turn out very well. So let me do that again, and I'll get a video of it doing that function. Return to home is what they call it. It's pretty cool. It's actually pretty cool. I am highly impressed with that drone. So, if you're in the market for a drone, I don't know if it's if they've got it back on sale all weekend long. They were playing around with the price of it, with the actual price of it, and with the coupon on it. And I was able to yesterday purchase it. And when I got up yesterday morning, I didn't know I was going to be able to get it, but I've been keeping a very close eye on it, and I noticed that they dropped it back down to the $159 with the $50 coupon. So I was like, sweet, and that was the black one. And even though I didn't have the money, I was like, well, that gives me hope that when I do have the money, I'll be able to get it. Well, things just kind of worked out. I was able to purchase it, and so I'm going to show you some pictures real quick of it. Let me go ahead and close this stuff. Let's see. So, oh, and by the way, when the Amazon affiliate money comes in, I'm either going to get I'm probably going to get some virtual reality glasses for it, because I'm trying to train myself to be able to fly it that way. So instead of what I was originally going to get with the socks and the sandpaper, I'm going to hold off on that, because this is kind of taking a priority. Me getting it's just a cheap little VR headset. That way it'll help me fly the thing. I'm telling you, I really suck at RC control aircraft. Really bad. It's like, it reminds me of trying to cut your own hair, right? You're looking in a mirror and everything's backwards, right? So, man, I'll tell you what, I love that it's got GPS, and I love that thing will return to home, so that when I get scared I'm going to crash it or do something really stupid, I can hit one button and it comes right back. But anyway, let me show you some pictures that I shot today. They're not going to be ultra high definition photos. Let's see. I'm going to give you what the other guy said, because I haven't had a chance to really fly it enough yet. One of the guys that reviewed it said on average he gets about 13 minutes out of it. I've only flown it twice so far, because it does take about an hour and a half or so for the battery to charge. So, I've only flown it twice, and that was taking off, landing, playing around, making it return to home. So I've not even really spent a full battery in the air yet. But somebody else said it was about 13 minutes on average what you get out of a flight. So that was one of the pictures. Let's see. I've got a slew of them here. And another picture I took with it. Yet another picture. And again, it's not ultra high definition, but I don't need anything, I don't need $1,000 drone. I can't afford $1,000 drone. So this would be plenty good enough for me. And it was cool. And I even got up, you'll see in a second here, I even got up much higher than this, taking pictures. There we go. I'm getting up there pretty good now. So that's, you hear me talk once in a while about a roundabout that's not far from us. Well, that's actually right in that spot right there is where that roundabout is. So another one that's taken pretty far up. When you hear us throw a fit about the church bells, that would be the church. Those would be the bells. Oh, and there you go. That's the last picture I have for you. So, let me see here. Let me get these closed out, because I'm sure that's really weighing hard on my processor, having all those extra pictures open. Hang on. Waiting for my tabs to expand. Well, let me get rid of the other ones. That oughta. That's weird. Everything looks okay, though, so. The tabs, when you have like a bunch of tabs open on Chrome, at some point they start to squish together. And mine didn't unsquish, even though I closed all of those windows. That's weird. But anyway, it like I say, it does pretty well. The return to home is fairly accurate. It doesn't land on a dime back where you took off from, but it's fairly accurate. Fairly easy to control. I like that it has altitude hold. That basically means that when you're not touching the stick, your left stick, which is what you adjust your height with, your altitude, it centers. It goes to the center when you're not touching it. And your drone will stay at the altitude that you let go of it at. So other than that, it seemed to work pretty well. It comes with a spare set of props. It comes with 4 props, 4 prop screws, and 4, what do they call it? Well, think of it as hubcaps. They're little caps that go into the end of the prop, the propeller. And I did lose one today because right when I got done flying it, I went ahead and I ran the battery down. And for whatever reason, when it went to land, I was trying to make an adjustment with it. And for whatever reason, it wound up flipping. And so didn't hurt anything other than one of those prop caps popped off. And it's in grass, so there's no way I'll find it. But you do get 4 extras with it when you get the drone. So I just grabbed one of the extra prop caps and slapped it on there, and it's all good. So trying to think of anything other notable. The live video on it, I'm going to check it out again tomorrow with my Galaxy S7. The phone I was working with it today on was the Galaxy S5, and the live video was not very live. It was there, but it was very skippy, and it's definitely not something you would actually be able to fly with it with, because there was too much of a delay. It was too skippy. So we'll see. Maybe it's not really something to be able to have that type of capability with. We'll see. Again, older phone, maybe the phone itself was having an issue keeping up. Maybe the phone itself, maybe it's not doing so well as far as sending and receiving transmission. So you don't have to use a phone to control it. You can just control it with the joysticks, but with the smartphone, you can actually watch the live video or somewhat live video as you're flying around. Plus, it gives you some other options. You can go into some settings and change some settings. So the highest that I got it up today was 96 meters. It's metric. I didn't see a way to convert it. There might be in the options, but I didn't see that. But I can change that. I can go as high as 250 meters, which I will be actually changing that probably tomorrow when I take it out, as long as the weather's not all stupid. I don't know what it's supposed to do. So, hey, my tabs finally popped out. My tab's over here. But anyway, I'm trying to think if there's anything more notable with it. Like I say, overall, I'm impressed. I don't know if they still have it for that or not. For those that might be interested. Oops, it's not quite where I wanted to go. And that's not the buttons I meant to push. Hang on. I'm probably going to have to log out to see if the coupon's there. Because apparently, if you purchase one, you can only use that coupon one time. Now let me refresh so I'm not logged in. Yeah, it's there. Sorry it took me so long to get to that, but yeah, it's still on there. So $159.99 with a $50 coupon, and so it comes out to $109.99. So it's nice. I like it. I really do like it. Anyway, that kind of covers that. I know I spent a little while talking about my toy. It's not really a toy, though. That is going to be very, very useful, and that's why I'm going to spend a fair amount of time getting used to it. Again, a hard shell case is a must, as well as more than one battery. So my very next thing is going to be that hard shell case. Well, I'm going to get the goggles, the VR goggles, but Then after that's going to be the hard shell case and the extra battery. I got a card with mine that says that if I do a review, okay, and they prefer like a video review, if I do a review and email them with the information that they have on that little card, they give you several different items you can choose from as a free gift. And one of those items is a battery. So I'll probably actually wind up with having three batteries in total. There's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that at all, because like I say, it takes roughly about an hour and a half to charge them. So it's not like you can go fly it, throw the battery on the charger, and in 10 minutes go back up again. It just doesn't work like that. So anyway, let me go ahead and run through the headlines and we'll get going. Like I say, I am just run down. Absolutely run down. Pretty sore too. Okay, Saturday news. Let me have a sip of coffee. No, that's not Saturday's news, but... Okay. Rage over Breitbart's inclusion in Facebook News overlooks the outrage of letting Facebook curate journalism. Microsoft bags $10 billion Pentagon contract for Jedi War Cloud project, edging out presumed frontrunner Amazon. Protesters in Chile disrupt lithium mines with road blockade amid growing anti-government demonstrations. Excluding Havana, Washington bans all U.S. flights to Cuba. Where are we going to get our cigars? Let's see. Denmark greenlights gas pipeline to Poland while stalling on Russia's Nord Stream 2. Trump ascends his Twitter pulpit to declare that he doesn't like swiping on his iPhone. Aww. Here, I'll play the world's smallest violin. Let's see. Amazon Prime scam costs victims more than $500,000 in 2 months. Yeah, that's crazy. Be mindful of scams, folks. Be mindful of scams. You know, if it don't sound right, guess what? It's probably not right. Like Microsoft, they're not going to call you out of the blue and tell you you've got a problem with your computer. Okay, just saying. You know, of course, the IRS don't call you. If you're in that much trouble with them, they just show up. You know, be mindful of that, because there are a lot of people out there that get taken in scams. Be very mindful of that. You have full right to question. Russia may help India with construction of its first manned spacecraft. Scientists watch storms unfold on Saturn unlike any seen before. We're still on Saturday here. I love this, 125 parking meters spray painted and filled with expanding foam in downtown Bloomington. That's Indiana, by the way. Bloomington, Indiana. They've got a patriot there. Spray painted, and that's one thing. But to fill it with the expanding foam, the insulating foam, that is classic. That is classic. Let's see. Salo in, seafood out. Trump restores trade benefits for Ukraine but scraps them for Thailand. Russian Ministry of Defense says U.S. protects oil smugglers in Syria, offers aerial images as proof. Orwell and Huxley were both right, Roger Waters tells RT. And, you know, I got to looking into that a little bit because I knew what Orwell had to say, obviously, but I couldn't quite remember what Huxley had to say. So I looked into that a little bit after I seen this headline, and he's right. They are both on the money, both of them, Orwell and Huxley, right on the money. Let's see. Facebook builds AI tool for to Fox facial recognition systems. Driver of Essex migrant deaths truck charged. I forget how many, they were all Chinese, 39 or something like that bodies were found in that truck, if I've got that number right. The Russians are meddling again, this time in Chile, warns a U.S. diplomat. Oh, I'm on Sunday now. My apologies. Guard said he'd F each and every one of us. Released gun activist Butina recalls humiliation in U.S. prison. Fierce clashes in Barcelona as pro-independence demonstrators and police face off. California fires, 50,000 people ordered to evacuate, 1 million face planned blackout as winds threaten to intensify inferno. Let's see. Something very big has just happened. Trump posts cryptic tweet amid reports ISIS leader al-Baghdadi is killed in U.S. raid. And I'm telling you right now, I don't buy it. Okay? Let me explain that before I go any further. Okay? If you rewind back to the end of Obama's first term, you will see a remarkable event right before the election. I don't know how many of you remember it, but that is when he, quote unquote, got bin Laden. Okay? Now, there were reports, I want to say it was from like 2002 or something like that, about bin Laden's death. Okay? Bin Laden's death had already been reported in the news years prior. But Obama claims SEAL Team 6 went in there, had a successful mission, killed him, and this is the best part. In honor of his faith, of his religion, they dumped his body at sea and had no proof of it. Not a stick of proof. Right? But you better believe he used that hero status to help him get reelected. So here we are, late October, end of October, of an election year, or a coming election year. And guess what? Trump gets baggy daddy. But it gets even better. Supposedly, Baggy Daddy had on a suicide vest, and I'm not here to say he didn't. That's kind of what they do. But supposedly, he detonated the vest, and the remains were so mutilated that you can't just easily identify the body. Now, it wasn't just him. He had, I want to say 4 of his children with him or something, that were killed in the blast, quote unquote, as well. It gets even better. Trump made a speech about this. And during that speech, he had listed several countries that in one way or another aided the United States in completing this mission. Most of it was just allowing us to use their airspace. One of those countries that Trump mentioned was Russia. And you'll see that headline here in just a moment. Another Syria fairy tale, Lee Camp marvels as media rebrands U.S.-backed moderate rebels as Turkey-aligned militants. We're still on Sunday, by the way. Islamic State leader al-Baghdadi detonated suicide vests during U.S. raid in Syria, says reports. Iraq deploys elite counterterrorism unit to protect state buildings as chaotic protests rock Baghdad. Let's see. Attacker still at large after Texas University homecoming mass shooting leaves 2 dead and multiple injured. Still on Sunday. Kurdish commander reveals 5-month intelligence op led to ISIS leader Baghdadi's killing. ISIS leader al-Baghdadi killed in U.S. raid in Syria, Trump confirms. And I don't know why this came out again, that he, reconfirmed it. I thought that was a little weird, too. Kurdish SDF says it will comply with Moscow and Ankara deal to withdraw from Turkish border. Anti-independent protesters march in Barcelona. And this is the headline I was talking about. Russian Ministry of Defense doubts Trump's announcement of killing ISIS chief al-Baghdadi, rejects claims it assisted U.S. forces in op. And Russia was specifically one of the countries that Trump said had helped out with this in one way or another. And Russia's like, no, we didn't. A mysterious U.S. Air Force space plane lands after record-breaking 780-day mission. That's the X-37B. They've been working with that aircraft for quite some time. It's pretty much a miniature space shuttle, okay? But it does have some different designs to it. And actually, it's a pretty neat little aircraft. Truly is. Announcement of al-Baghdadi killing in U.S. raid may fuel another cycle of violence. I'm sure it will. And I'm not saying, again, let's just take the story for what it is and let's say that they got him. You know, good. You know, individuals like that need to be dealt with. But unfortunately, that headline's right. It's probably going to spark trouble. But what are you going to do? You can't just give all these people a free pass because you don't want to cause an issue. You don't want to offend anybody, right? You can't do that. I thought this was crazy. This is from, I believe, this morning, 11 hours ago. Multiple shots fired at vigil for victims of Texas University homecoming mass shooting. So not only did they have issues, you know, the shooting itself, but then you had people shooting at the vigil. Crazy. Cacophony of boos and lock him up chants erupt at Baseball World Series after Trump appears on TV screen. Sounds like they like him. EU agrees Brexit extension until January 31st, says Tusk. Intoxicated U.S. Marines arrested in Japan after attacking police cars, says reports. Russia, China, and India to set up alternative to SWIFT payment system to connect 3 billion people. Hong Kong plunges into recession as months of violent protests take toll on economy. Trump says phase 1 of U.S. trade deal with China will likely be signed in mid-November. Stuck at nearly 30-story height, emergency services scrambling to rescue man hanging upside down. And apparently, from what the article said, the only thing he was hanging by was literally like his pants leg. I guess his pants leg got caught, and he was literally hanging from that. Thank God for pants. Killing Baghdadi is no big deal. U.S. removed him after his expiration date, says the Iranian Foreign Ministry. If IS chief al-Baghdadi is dead, Trump has made a big contribution to fighting terrorism, says the Kremlin. Saudi investors may take part in $200 billion Russian national projects program. Ad block Putin orders introduction of criminal punishment for online drugs propaganda. Iraq declares curfew after scores killed in violent protests. Spooky spooks, the CIA offers disguise tips to kids preparing their Halloween costumes. Doesn't get any better than that. Let's see. 2 injured in French mosque shooting. 80-year-old, actually I think it was 84, suspect arrested, says reports. Hillary Clinton thinks God put her on earth to be president, former Bill Clinton advisor says. I'll pause for you to laugh or cry or whatever you feel you need to do there. Syrian oil, U.S. troops being deployed will strike at any force challenging occupation, says the Secretary of Defense. Oh, God, this is insane. Consent should be continuous. Liberal professor implies not asking during sex is rape. So, from now on, right, you need to set up a schedule with your partner. Like, I don't know, maybe every 15, 20, 30 seconds for you to ask to make sure that what you're doing is okay. Where do they get this stuff? I don't get it. I don't get it. Let's see. Okay, got one more headline. All we have are Trump's words. UN isn't confirming elimination of IS chief al-Baghdadi. Again, I smell a rat. I really do. I really, truly do. But anyway, that is the headlines. Let me go ahead and close the monologue so I can get some videos started and kind of just kick back. Need to get some kratom capsules made. I'm sure Jen's hurting plenty. I know I'm hurting plenty. And, yeah, be nice to be able to get away from the pain a little bit. So let me close up the monologue and we'll go from there. So if you're here for the live show, stick around. We'll be live till 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. If you're here for the monologue or the recording thereof, thank you very much. As always, God bless you. We love you and be one with your spirit. Alrighty. Grab you a video real quick. I'm working on it. Scroll a little too far, I assume. Okay, let's go ahead and start out with this. This is let me get capsules made and all that good stuff. The Prepared Mind with a video titled 3 Sides to the SHTF Coin.
Welcome back to the Prepared Mind channel here on Patreon. Thank you guys for supporting everything that it is that we all do here. Roughly 7 cents a day is what it costs when I say it's $2 a month, because we produce content 7 days a week. And I like to believe that the content is quality. I put hours every day into producing these videos, and then I spend additional hours every day, and sometimes far into the night, and a lot of times early in the morning, talking to other people, sharing ideas, exploring concepts for preparing for what is happening, for how to get there, how to think about this, right? And so thank you very much. Please share the video. Share links to the videos so others can watch it. It's important to get the information out, or people aren't going to have, right, a good look at the real world, right? If they only see a false narrative, a false reality, because that's all they can see, then they're going to make a bad decision. Ultimately, we need to operate in the real world. We need to be aware of the fakeness, but we need to operate in the real world, see the risks, and that's what being a prepper is about. It's not about running around in camouflage, threatening civil war. It's not being a separatist. It's being prepared for what is going to come. So, what I got here is an interesting piece from globalmacromonitor.com. I'll put the link down below. And the title is a little ambiguous. It is time to start discounting a hard left turn. And this is looking at, I thought, okay, yeah, we need to discount or take the value that we have to buy all the left-wing shit with, but it's actually an anti-Trump story. But I'm going to take the information in this story and present it to you in a way that I don't think a lot of people are thinking about. Time to start discounting a hard left turn. Quote, I don't like the Democrats, but Trump is destroying the Republic. That comes from a retired 4-star general. What is he talking about? I don't like Democrats, but Trump is destroying the Republic. This is a statement, a bold statement of ignorance, supposedly by somebody who understands something. A retired general you would expect to have more intelligent things to say. A retired general, and I am not putting them down, I'm not doing anything other than saying what my expectations of one is a general, a fucking colonel, a major, a captain, a lieutenant on the officer side. I'm not even going to go through the enlisted ranks, right? Their duty is to country. That's what their duty is. And if you spend a lifetime in the military, your duty to your country goes beyond just when you're commissioned or enlisted. Sergeant majors, first sergeants, gunnery sergeants, they retire and they go on the rest of their life believing in country. Country first. What is your country? It's the land you live on and the rules you live by, your Constitution. To say something this, and the reason I'm calling this ignorant is I don't like Democrats, but Trump is destroying the Republic. The Republic was being destroyed long before Trump got to office. This is a false narrative statement. Former president, beloved former president, 4-star general, former commander of the Supreme Allied Forces of World War II, Ike, as he was affectionately known as, President Eisenhower proper, in his farewell speech to the country, warned of the military-industrial complex. That was the marriage between the military and corporate suppliers of military goods and hardware. Now, the military complex has since grown to expand to cover things like healthcare and psychology, because they use health and psychology as a weapon of war now. It includes technology, computers, software, hardware. They use that for military purposes, so that big tech is part of the military industrial complex. Now, this guy, I don't like Democrats. Right. Mr. Market and President Warren. Elizabeth Warren is a socialist. She may not be a full-on communist, but she's now prescribing communist measures. So maybe she is a full-on communist and she's just pretending to be light. The discussion of a heavy progressive income tax, which we have now, is a communist plank. But a wealth tax, where a tax collector comes onto your property, looks at everything you have, and then assesses you and says you have to pay this tax, that is heavy, heavy communist. She uses the term redistribution of wealth. Now, while they may not like some of the things Trump has done, are they crimes? Are they impeachable offenses? Which is high crimes and misdemeanors. Not jaywalking misdemeanor, a serious misdemeanor, right? Something unbefitting of someone in that office. Is it understandable that high officials put pressure on other countries? Bribe other countries with trade deals? Bribe other countries with defense deals? Yeah, they do that all the time. If not in their words, in the consequences or results of their deeds. Oh, there's no quid pro quo there, right, President Obama? Right, Vice President Biden? Oh no, they were straight shooters, we're supposed to believe, but Trump doing anything has to be evil. It is completely asinine and illogical and wrong for any of these generals, including General Mattis. I'm very upset with that guy. Because they're supposed to put the country first. If you want to criticize a president, you do it after they're done in office. You write a book, and after they're out of office. Otherwise, you cast a shadow of a doubt on the President of the United States while he's in office, coming from someone who is supposed to be respected by the people, the generals who are supposed to care about the country and not be partisan. Now our generals are being partisan. What are they partisan towards? The military-industrial complex. Mattis got mad when we pulled out of Syria. And then we're told it's only 1,000 troops. And then we're told it's less than 100 troops. How can pulling out 100 troops affect the world and affect the region? How can that destroy the country? It's a lot bigger than that, you see. Like I said, I'm going to take this video someplace that you guys probably didn't expect. But this, we started with this idea, right, that there's a hard left turn. We've been in the middle of this hard left turn in our country for a long time. Left meaning left politics, left meaning socialist. Left meaning a convergence of corporations and government power, but it's going through the military government power that is wanting to exert control over politics now. Nonpartisan military is now becoming partisanized. President Obama, Barack Hussein, Barry Soetoro, I wasn't born in America. I had a false, fake, fraudulent birth certificate. My dad was a communist, that guy. Born in Kenya, that president. What did he do? Right, hard left turn on everything. How come these generals aren't coming out and lampooning him, beating on him? Well, because he was all for it. He was a sellout. He did everything the military-industrial complex wanted. This hard left turn we've been in for a long time, right? After World War II, let's see, the creation of the CIA, the inclusion of Nazis that were brought over from Germany, Nazi officers, SS officers, Gestapo officers, were brought into the U.S. government structure. Social fascists. And they've been there ever since. It is terribly painful to say, but we've been having this internal deep state battle big time since World War II. And Eisenhower knew and understood and behaved according to the rules, which is the military is distinct and separate from the civilian government. We're not seeing that anymore. We're starting to see a blending. The government is wanting, or rather ex-military and the military are wanting to be part. Obama fired a bunch of officers because they weren't, flag grade generals, because they weren't Democrats. He politicized the military. And even supposed conservatives are going to, argue against anything that doesn't promote more military-industrial complex wealth and control. We're gonna see big problems. Right? What is this hard left doing? They're wanting to disarm us. What is the hard left doing? They're wanting to tax us 100%. Control, regulate, make us pay for everything that we don't want. They're breaking the system. They're the ones who are destroying the republic. They're destroying the foundations, the rules of the republic, right? They are becoming dictators, and as they gain more power, they are showing that they are not benevolent, that they are like every other dictator in the past that didn't come to power, then give the power back to the people. They take the power, and they like the power, and they use the power to more and more aggressively influence the people. There's one general that I know of that was offered supreme power and chose to give it all to the people. And that would be General George Washington. He was offered kingship in the United States, and he declined it. He served as president under the Constitution, and there were several presidents under the Articles of Confederation before that. But General George Washington refused kingship, and he gave the power to the people. I think I've said, if you made me president, I would fix everything right away. But in order to do that, I would have to do that as a benevolent dictator and destroy the bureaucracy, dismantle all the bullshit, and return the rights to the people. It would look like chaos on the streets. I would say, government, you don't get to do what you've been doing anymore. People don't have to register their cars. They don't have to prove who they are. Hell, we don't make illegal immigrants prove who they are. Why should citizens have to prove who they are? Right? Anyways, it would be a very complicated, big fucking mess that I would cause. But I would have to be a dictator. But if you gave me all of that supreme power, could you trust me with it? Or would I become Stalin? What did Stalin do? Well, he took over a communist regime, became a dictator, killed half of his officer corps so that he could replace them with those favorable to him. And then he used the military to subdue his own people, much the way the Bolsheviks did, right? And under Lenin, they become total tyrants. Mattis, Mad Dog, and others who are respectable for their service and their time and their intellect, I question their motives, because if they aren't concerned about the republic and they're putting politics into it, your job is to tell me how to fight and win a war. And if I say go to war, this would be me if I'm the president, if I say go to war, you tell me the plan and then we'll execute it. But you don't tell me how to run the country. You're a general. Do your fucking job. Right? That is regulate troops and advise the president, not tell the president he's doing wrong and then run to the media. They politicize themselves. It's very dangerous. And I think it speaks to the risk and the threat our country has for a military coup. I'm upping this game with discussion of a coup in our own country that will or could involve the military. Now, if the military was controlled 100% by the deep state, I believe they would have done a military coup already. I believe portions of the Pentagon were involved in the assassination of John F. Kennedy, but there has always been a struggle between the good guys and the bad guys. In the Pentagon, in the Army, in the Marine Corps, in the Navy, especially in the Navy, and in the Air Force. If they controlled the military 100%, if the bad guys controlled the Pentagon, they could turn the Army, the Marines, and the Navy, and the Air Force on the White House. Who's going to stop them? They could roll in with Humvees. They wouldn't need tanks and air support. They could just drive in the driveway and kick the president out. And then the head general could declare himself dictator of America. El President, General Admirable, whatever the hell his name would be. And that would be it. We would be under martial law, military control, a dictatorship. So, because that hasn't happened, we have to assume that there is a significant portion of the military and the military leadership in the Pentagon and in brass officers, high enlisted, that are pro-Constitution, pro-America. They're not partisan. They aren't Republican or Democrat. They are pro-America. And they would fight for us the same way everyone that is served that loves America and puts America first and doesn't take a side in control of the Republic, but serves us, the people. We are the Republic. Right? The country, it has geographic boundaries, but the country is us. The power comes from the people that authorizes the government, and the government should serve the people who are the Republic. There's one other thing that is stopping them, and it is the Second Amendment. And I've got to tell you that I recognize and understand the supreme might and power. We have been told by Democrat political candidate Beto the Butthead that if he is president, he's going to direct the police to go knock on your door and take your firearms. We were threatened by Swallows Deep, California Democrat, that they have the nukes. We were threatened by our own government politicians with nuclear war and with death if you do not comply with their gun confiscation rules. Because when a policeman says something, if you don't behave and obey instantly, they can shoot you because they fear for their lives. We are, even though it's not apparent, it is implicit that the military can be utilized in a coup attempt. You know, how many Humvees does it take rolling up to the White House? How many 4-star generals and E7s, 8s, and 9s would it take to roll up in there to make it look on television, broadcast by CNN, like the military just arrested the president? It could be done by partisans, and it would be under the color of authority, a de facto coup. And how would we know what the truth is? We wouldn't. But the military is made up of good people who serve the country. So what I'm saying here is, yeah, they're powerful. They've got the guns, they've got tanks, they've got ships, they've got jets, they've got bombs, they've got nukes. But with all of those jets, bombs, nukes, and military, they couldn't defeat the Taliban in Afghanistan. They could kill people, they can kill individuals, but you can't kill an idea that has merit, and that is that people are free to choose for themselves. Choose right or wrong. You know, terrorism hasn't been defeated in my lifetime or in anyone's lifetimes. In fact, back at times of Rome, in Jerusalem, the Sicarii, the Zealots, literally there's a group called the Zealots, and that's where we get the word from, were terrorist bands that were anti-Roman, and they couldn't be weeded out. In fact, they had a rebellion in 66, I believe it was 66 AD, and the Romans expelled every Jew from the Holy Land. They just kicked them out of their own fucking country, said, you guys don't get to live here anymore because you're a problem. They couldn't kill them off and eradicate them, so they just chased everyone out of the country. It's a complete Roman province. It was like an annex of Rome itself. You can't destroy it, though. You can't get rid of, you can't do that. Anyways, what else is stopping a military coup? I digress there a bit. What else would stop a military coup? It's called the Second Amendment. Oh, but they have the guns and the missiles and the tanks. Yeah, I know that. But I just demonstrated that no empire, including the great American military empire, can defeat individuals who are armed with nothing more than the equivalent of slingshots compared to the technology and weapons they have. Drone technology didn't do it. Satellite technology didn't do it. Hypersonic missiles, supersonic planes did not do it. What makes them think they can defeat America? You can take it over, you can occupy it militarily, but you can't beat it. The Second Amendment is an inalienable right, and that's why the right to defense, self-defense, is the Second Amendment. And so I wrote some stuff down here, and I wrote it down because as I speak improvisationally, my mind can drift a little. I want to stay on target here. Stay on target. The government has no authority to remove or dissolve the natural right of self-preservation. It is embodied in the Second Amendment. Our military, when going to other countries to fight against terrorism, those people had a right to self-preservation from God on high. Whether we agree with their politics, their culture, their lifestyle, whether we agree with anything about them, they have a right to self-preservation, and they acted on that. With their AK-47s, with their RPGs, they acted on it, and they did not lose. People were killed, but they didn't lose. Back to this. Confiscation of weapons is a treasonous act of government. Do you hear that, Beto and Swallowwell and Feinstein and the rest of you, Chucky Puck Schumer? It's an act of treason to do it. And I believe it's an act of treason to even discuss weapons confiscation. if the government starts a confiscation of weapons, what will you do to that traitorous organ? That organ could be the White House, that organ could be Congress, that organ could be the military. What will you do? It's a question I'm asking. What will you do? How much abuse do we have to take? What will you do? And I am not prescribing any acts of violence. These are rhetorical questions for the intellectual mind to contemplate. Law enforcement, quote, individual, end quote, cops are traitors to you, their oaths, and the Constitution, and God, the author of our rights and the creator of our souls, if they decide they're going to engage in weapons confiscation. Let me say that again. If they do that, they are traitors to you as individuals. Because whether individual or collective, we are part of the republic. We make up the republic. We are part of the body politic of the republic. And the Constitution applies to us as individuals, the protections it's supposed to provide, as well as collectively. How can we all have a right collective that isn't a right individual? And I have not heard anyone explain how rights are for the collective only, except to use it to promote communist theory. Okay? What will you do to individual traitors, whether they be military, government, police, citizens? What will you do to individual traitors that are traitors to you, their oaths, the Constitution? Right? They're not just criminals, they're traitors. What would you do? And regardless of gender, age, race, color, religion, social status, wealth, popularity, or obscurity, A, will you seek the freedom of anyone arrested for refusing to turn in guns? In other words, if your neighbor is arrested, regardless of age or color or race or status or obscurity, what if no one knows them? Do you just say, who gives a fuck? Or what if they're really popular? Now, everyone knows that guy, he's good. What are you going to do if they're arrested? Are you going to picket? Are you going to go to court and do a habeas corpus and say, give us the body, there's no crime? Are you going to demand a speedy trial in 5 minutes? Let him out of prison now. We're going to try him right here in the parking lot and find him innocent because he did not violate any law. He has a Second Amendment right to self-preservation, which includes the possession, ownership, and bearing of arms. B, will you, regardless of age, race, color, religion, social status, wealth, popularity, or obscurity, will you defend others who refuse to comply with gun confiscation? In other words, when it starts, are you going to defend people? If the police show up before they're arrested, will you go defend them? Which means you look at the law enforcement that is a traitor to you, them, their oaths, the Constitution, and God. It's a big question, isn't it? It's not an easy question to answer because it requires you to take a stand. C, regardless of age, gender, race, color, religion, social status, wealth, popularity, or obscurity, will you fly to the relief of any in the process of being denied their rights? Any right, including the right of Second Amendment. These questions I ask because this is what shit hitting the fan is about. The military is starting to take sides. They're putting themselves into the political arena. They claim that they want to defend the republic, but are they going to serve communists which do nothing and have done nothing but destroy our republic under the name of progressivism and liberalism and socialism, demanding human rights and denying God-given rights? Human rights come about as the result of statute. God-given rights exist on their own. They don't need a government to create them, because a government-created right can be taken away. And that is why we identify rights enumerated in the Bill of Rights as coming from God. Therefore, they are superior to and out of the reach of government. Again, yeah. Article, time to start discounting a hard left turn. Really? Time to start discounting a hard left turn. I don't like the Democrats, but Trump is destroying the Republic. Well, if Democrats are communists and we don't like them and they're destroying the Republic, but Trump is also destroying the Republic, what are these generals proposing? Are they going to replace all of the politicians with themselves? That's why I brought up this question of the military involving itself in politics. And I've used examples of the Soviet Union, Stalin using the military, taking over the military, killing the parts of the military off he didn't like, and then using the military against the people, which had been being done as soon as they took over the military under Lenin and Trotsky, I know. But Stalin increased that. Do we want our government to have military dictators in there? What will you do? Will you recognize your rights as being inalienable, as expressed in our foundational documents? Are we going to accept traitors in our midst for the rest of our lives? Are we going to suffer under them as they try and destroy the Republic and then accuse us of wanting our Republic of being bad, selfish, racist, xenophobic, etc., trying to shame us into giving up our rights to free speech, rights to self-defense, rights to own property, to be safe and secure on our property. In other words, if you haven't committed a crime where someone else is injured, and injured in a way that wasn't demanded by the other person, right? Like if you defend yourself or your property from a thief that's trying to kill you, you can get arrested for defending yourself. Well, you haven't committed a crime. Self-defense is not a crime. Self-defense against a tyrannical government is not a crime. Political speech against your government, critical, is not a crime. For those in the military, they have a duty to serve the Republic, not their politics. I serve freedom. And in the Constitution, I see the most freedom available to man. That's why I say I'm a constitutionalist, I'm a libertarian, I'm for liberty, freedom, I'm for restricting the government, keeping the military on a short leash. Right? Break glass in case of emergency. Makes sense to me. I was a Marine. I understand the military and the purpose of it. I don't have any illusions. But I don't have any illusions about the risk and threat that they also pose. I feel that myself. And if you read the Federalist Papers, if you go back to the foundation of our nation, they talked about standing armies, about the risks and threats of standing armies, for the very reasons we've seen countries taken over this century, by standing armies, who then impose dictatorial control over a country. That was the risk of standing army. The risk of an all-powerful president is the king. That's why we don't have all-powerful rulers. Our system isn't perfect, but it was designed very well, and I'd like to see it return to that. For the time being, you need food, water, shelter, clothing, medicine, and your means of self-defense, with your plan and an understanding of what's going on out there. And the fact that this impeachment is a farce, this belief that Trump is destroying the Republic, is a perversion of reality, and it is hypocritical at its foundation. It is a perversion to believe that, because the Republic has been being destroyed for decades. And I would argue all the way back to the Civil War and prior to it. The demand by the North that the South sell them their cotton and not free trade how they wanted, with tariffs in place. Since then, the Republic has been being chipped away at piece by piece by piece. So it's an absolute perversion to say Trump is destroying the Republic. It's a perversion of reality and fact. And to believe that Warren is going to be any better, she will be 100 times worse than Trump. Shit is going to hit the fan. It is that serious. Get prepared now, because chance favors the prepared mind. Is yours. Semper Fi. always faithful. Faithful to self, God, and country. That's the Constitution, that's the Republic. Godspeed to all, God bless America, and I'll talk to you guys very, very soon.
Alrighty, now we have one from Wolffang titled Crisco.
Hello everybody, it's Wolffang here. Today is October the 27th, Sunday, 2019, and I'm going to talk about this product. And no, I'm not making pie crust, but there may be a lot of people out there that know you can use Crisco for other uses besides baking and cooking. You can actually put this on your chopping board, rub it on there, and it keeps stuff from sticking. You can use it, wooden spoons, rolling pins, other kitchen supplies made of hardwood, and it keeps them coated so stuff doesn't stick to them. And yes, I am reading from notes. Also, I didn't get my candle out, but this is brand new. But you can actually put a tapered candle in here, and as that candle burns down, it'll actually turn it into one big candle. Another use for it is if you don't have WD-40 and you have tools that are rusted or they stick, you can actually use your Crisco to unstick them. That's if you don't have WD-40. Now remember, this is for prepping, I guess you could say in a pinch. Also, you can take the Crisco, melt it down and put it in a small jar, and then if you have candle wick, you can take your candle wick, cut it to size. I don't have the little, there's a little metal or tin piece that you would put on the end of your wick, and it clamps it down, but it would hold it. But you can soak this in the Crisco oil, and then, like I said, you can make candle with it if you don't have wax and stuff. This is all just, you know, it's an emergency thing. A lot of this stuff I didn't even know you could use Crisco for. It's kind of cool, I think. All right. Also, I think Marsh knows this, but you can use it for making soap. You mix in either a solid or liquid Crisco with water and lye to create a slushy type consistency, adding any herb or essential oils you choose. I talked about rust protection. Also, you can use it for a fire starter. Keeping a fire going to prevent frostbite, hypothermia. When building a fire outdoors during rain or with damp kindling, slather some Crisco onto the tinder and it will help light it quicker. That's interesting. I'm reading, I got this information in an email, so I'm sharing it with you guys. Another one, it says a calorie enhancer. Keeping strong and healthy during a long-term disaster will surely increase your chances of survival. When food is scarce, a calorie intake will drop, and that will weaken the body. At a time when manual labor and physical exhaustion are peaked, add a teaspoon or so of Crisco to any food you are eating to bolster your calorie intake and prevent energy loss. Also, it says you can use it as a headlight brightener. It says if you're bugging out or merely trying to get around during SHTF event or rebuilding years that will follow such an epic nationwide disaster, your vehicle's headlights may be the only light on or around the road. It says clean up the headlights with Crisco to remove bugs and debris and to prevent snow and ice from building up on them. This will be an especially helpful tool to keep your vehicle emergency kit. If you need to dim the headlights with mud for safety and security reasons during part of a journey, but need them cleared to be able to remain on the road or trailer. And that's a pretty good idea. Taking the Crisco and putting it on your headlights during the wintertime, the ice and snow won't stick to it. That's good. I think everybody knows about using Crisco with their cast iron skillets. That's how you season them. You can use it on equipment. If you have a homestead around the house, something's stuck or something's squeaky, like I said earlier, if you don't have WD-40, you can use the Crisco. If you happen to have diaper rash, you can use it on your diaper rash too. Another good idea, and this is during the winter time, and you have to shovel snow, take the Crisco and wipe your snow shovel down with it, and the snow won't stick to it. I talked about the survival candle. You can actually take the wick, this wick, and you could probably just put it down and push it down inside the Crisco and light it. A torch. You can take an old rag and take the rag and wipe it, get Crisco on it, rub it all over, let it sit for a few, and do it a couple times. And then if you're outside and you need to make a torch, find yourself a nice sized stick, wrap that rag around the end of the stick and light it, and that'll burn for a while also. Lamp oil. If you run out of lamp oil, take this Crisco, melt it down, and you can pour it into your lamp, your emergency lamps, and use it for light, just like you would with your regular lamp oil. It's also good for chapped skin. If your skin's dry, chapped, like I said, just like your elbows or whatever, take a little bit and rub it on your skin. You can also use it for lip balm. And the last thing I'll talk about is if you do have a homestead and you do have chickens, you can take those fresh eggs and coat them with the Crisco. And now, if there's anybody out there, and I know a few people that do have chickens, and you see this video and you've tried this, let me know if it actually works. But supposedly, if you coat your fresh eggs with Crisco, they will last up to 9 months, or keep up to about 9 months. And also a way to make sure that your eggs are fresh, there's an old-fashioned test. It's called float or sink. It says conduct the old-fashioned float or sink egg test to make sure the eggs are still likely safe to consume before eating. If you're unfamiliar with the old homestead egg test, simply place enough cold water in a bowl to cover the eggs by about 2 inches. If the eggs float, they are not safe to eat. I repeat, if the eggs float, they are not safe to eat. If they sink, the eggs should be safe to eat. Should the egg stand up in the water but remain mostly submerged, the egg may still be safe to use for a little while longer. So I thought that information was pretty good about the eggs. And like I said, if anybody out there that has chickens, and I know a few people that do, and if you've tried this with the Crisco, leave a comment in my video and let me know if that actually works or not. I'd like to hear from some people about that, because I did find that one really, really interesting. Okay, so that's my video for today. As I said, it's brought to you by Crisco, but I thought that was kind of some interesting information, and there's probably a lot more uses. Well, I do want to read one other thing. I saw this on the can itself, and it says how to substitute Crisco shortening for butter or margarine. And what you do is you take 1 cup of Crisco, 2 tablespoons of water, and you mix that together, and that is equal to a cup of butter or a cup of margarine. Something to know. I'm not a baker. I've never really made pie crust, but anyway. So this is Wolfgang. It's a nice sunny Sunday. And yes, once again, I'm getting ready to watch the Bengals. They're playing over in London, across the pond. So I hope everybody has a good Sunday. Blessed be and stay safe. And I will talk to you all next weekend. Bye.
Alrighty, let's see here. Okay, let me go ahead and do this one from Suspicious Observers, his morning report. It's titled Snowy Moons, Record Weather, Plasma Magnetic Dominance.
Good morning, folks. Plasma filaments dancing. Bright spot incoming near the equator. Weather and science news await their turn behind analysis of the last 24 hours on our star, and we go to spaceweathernews.com to find the sun remaining dominated by coronal holes in the Earth-facing longitudes. Those coronal holes are expected to re-intensify the solar wind within about 36 hours. We also have the bright spot at the equator on the left side. That's an incoming active region. We got a pretty good look at its appearance 24 hours ago, and then it's cresting the limb onto the near side of the sun. But when we dive a little deeper past the corona down to the photosphere, we find the magnetic imprint lacking both size and power, so the intensity gram of neutral iron is showing surface plague activity and no umbral cores of sunspots. The wait continues. The solar wind carried on downward throughout the day despite an attempt to re-rise in the middle. All in all, the first coronal hole stream is finally waning back away, bringing back a run of geomagnetic quiet as we await the next one and more geomagnetic unrest. Well, folks, it's a Homer type of weather report today. I am in the midst of this record October snow hitting the Rockies, and what's coming later this week is expected to break cold records, and it's being driven again by these jet stream dips. Look at its bend down into the states. This is set to march eastward this week. I also want to take a moment to pull the stratosphere to find the North Polar Vortex coming together with top speed marks in half the circulation. It has overtaken the South in power, while that southern vortex is breaking down, shrinking, and leaving the polar settlement. Of course, they've got different problems in California. Brutal fire outbreaks as winds top 90 miles an hour and fan the flames. Not done yet. Up first in science is Saturn. More specifically, its dusty moons. They're icy, dusty moons. They say that actual water ice is contaminating almost every moon, either from Phoebe's ring or from the Enceladus jets at its south pole. They detail a number of the moons that look like wintertime somewhere on Earth, with the exception that they never get summer, they never melt, and take a constant frozen sprinkling from above. We are shifting out further to the galactic level now in its recycling action on nova events. It has long been thought that the circumgalactic medium was made up of nova dust and the remnants thereof, polluted throughout the system by the dying stars. But it turns out that the galaxies recapture a good deal of it for future star formation. This is not unlike the solar wind and interplanetary magnetic fields, which both stream out and carry the flux tubes back to the sun. We do believe the galactic fields are scaled up similarly, but also with the secret weapon in the form of the reversing fields prevalent at high latitudes, which would even more easily exchange this material and deliver some back down to the disk. A little quick chuckle before getting back to star formation. They are trying to figure out what dark matter is going to look like from a seventh dimension point of view. I guess when you can't find it, underlying foundational physics required for your hunt are wrong, and you've wasted billions scouring the known universe for Bugs Bunny, you start looking in some weird places, like the seventh dimension. Now back to reality, because the Princeton Plasma Physics Lab has confirmed what Sophia and Alma told us over the last year. Magnetic and plasma dynamics control star-forming regions, dominating over the force of gravity. Now here is where we need to remember. Hannes Alfvén's book, Cosmic Plasma, it's not the magnetic connection that they necessarily envision, but a touching and energetic collapse of double layers, releasing the energy of the circuit at the point of disruption. Same cosmic dance move, slightly different details. Either way, it's about plasma and electromagnetism. And folks, I don't know what to say. If you didn't catch last night's video, it's one of the ones you dare not miss if you are an observer. Is the Janabekov effect related to the Earth flipping over? We greatly appreciate your support. Check out last night's video if you missed it. We've got wind map forecasts and shots of our star to close. We'll do this all again tomorrow, right here, but right now it's 5:15 a.m. in the new Valley of the Sun. Eyes open, no fear. Be safe, everyone.
Alrighty, got one from Sensible Prepper here titled U.S. Marine Corps Issue Type 1 Class 3 Survival Kit Review. Yeah, all of that.
Guys, when it comes to survival, it's something you really need to take seriously. And there's a lot of gears, a lot of opinions, and different things offered. But one source that I love to go to is the U.S. military, putting together survival kits, for those that are in harm's way, that'll actually have to use these in a life and death situation. Today we're going to take a look at the Type 1 Class 3 U.S. military issued survival kit. These are particularly used by the U.S. Marine Corps. And this is a complete survival kit. One of the things that I love about kits like this and going through them is that you can tailor your kit to what they're putting together with this issued kit. It doesn't necessarily have to be the items they use, but it can definitely help you to make sure you're not missing something or adding something into your kit. These were issued in the 1990s. In fact, this one is dated July 1991. Now it comes in this really unique material. It is waterproof, but it's also abrasion proof. It's a woven material. It's almost like cloth. And these are vapor proof. They're grease proof. So these are made to withstand some kind of, disaster and yet still be intact. And we have all the reference numbers and the markings on each one. This comes in two separate kits. It's an A and B, and each one, the items are labeled on the back. Now guys, sometimes these kits can be difficult to find. Sometimes you can find them on eBay or Amazon, but this one was from the Army Navy Sales, just a website I found. These were $99, which seems to be about the going rate for these. And again, it does break into the two components. First thing I want to do is just go ahead and split the kit up. So I'm just going to take a knife, and you can see this material is really sturdy. And these are designed so you can fit these into a cargo pocket, or you can slip this in your rucksack. As you can see, it's still sealed, so we're going to go ahead and open it up beyond where it was sealed. Nice Mylar material inside. I mean, you could possibly use this for other things later. And the kit itself is vacuum sealed. I mean, there's a lot of different numbers on here that you can scan for barcodes. Now here are the components out of side A. First off, we have just a regular Ziploc bag, and you can take all the components once you unload them and you can pack them into this bag. We have a really unusual candle, and this is typical for all of them, and it is wrapped up. I'm not really sure if this was actually melted in the pack, but you do have your wick here. You have a small little tea candle base, and you can set this up. It's out of the plastic wrap. Here we have some brass snare wire. Now also we have a space blanket, and I really like this one. It's pretty basic, but it does have a green backing on the back side, so for escape and evasion, you can put that down, but it's definitely thin. And then you have your regular. This is going to be great to, to protect you from the elements. You could even make a small shelter out of this and reflect the heat. Now this is really interesting. It's a fishing kit for survival. Has everything listed on here. It's in this metal tin, which I love. I mean, you can use this metal tin actually to heat water, cook food, things like that. There is some 100-mile-an-hour tape or duct tape all around, so we're going to go ahead and pull it off. This has been stored for a long time, so even though this duct tape is still fairly usable, it's lost a little bit of its stickiness. We have instructions for the fishing kit, and man, we've got a lot of items in here. First off, we have a finger saw, and it's one of the smaller little blades. You do have an extra blade with it. The best thing to do is to take this and put it on a piece of wood, a bent piece of wood, and you can use it as a standard saw. But again, you can change these blades out. That makes this really a cool item. Now here we have the kit laid out. We have two different sizes of monofilament line. They're on a little spool. We have monofilament line with leaders. We also have a number of different hooks with sinkers. We have some lures. We have tri-hooks. I mean, this kit in itself is just excellent. I mean, this is one of the best survival fishing kits I've ever seen. There's also a couple of really small hooks right here as well. Then we have a repair kit with safety pins and with needles, and we have a razor blade. So really some great items to really help you with your survival kit. We have various leader knots and hitches for your fishing kit, and fishing instructions under survival conditions. And guys, this is side A, and I'll have to admit, I'm pretty impressed. But from what I understand, some of the earlier kits did come with a plastic container. I love the metal container. This can double also as a signal mirror. As you can see, it's very reflective. I got everything back in the kit using the tape to kind of hold it down, and everything fits back into the little Ziploc bag, and we can tuck this away in the cargo pocket. Next, we're going to look at side B. Again, everything is Ziploc, very tight, even from 1991. That's pretty impressive. Now here are all the contents out of the B side. Each of these was wrapped up in different type protective things. In fact, this little knife actually has cosmoline on it. This is a Camelus, so it's a really high quality with US markings on it. Nice solid blade. And we have a can opener. We have a screwdriver with a bottle opener, and then we have an awl. Very well done, nice high quality knife. In fact, these are pretty sought after. Has a little lanyard here as well. And Camelus right here on the blade. Another really cool item is this storage bag for water. This is a really cool, it's a quart size. It's really heavy duty material. I mean, this is solid. And then we have a little place here where you don't really seal it up, even though it's actually reinforced right here. Put your water in, take and just fold this down, seals that up. Then you can actually seal it right here with this little small buckle. And then right here on the other side, we have a small thing for a belt loop, or you can attach this to a pack or something like that. We have hurricane matches that are windproof and waterproof. And here you can see them. Go ahead and test them out. Oh, there you go. Whew. Wow. And so that's going to burn, give you some good lighting capability, even since 1991. We also have a magnesium bar with a striker. This is a Doan, which is one of the top names, really because of the striker. These are excellent. Has a small instruction manual here. Gives you all the information you need, even with survival tips. We also have a survival whistle. And one thing that I think was a mistake, it had two of the signal mirrors on here. Now you can peel this back. It helps protect the mirror itself. Then you have a small hole you can look through. You have a lanyard point. There were two in the pack, because here it has compass, smoke chaser, signaling mirror. They stuck an extra signal mirror and no compass. So really a compass needs to go with this. And guys, that's one thing you don't want to do, is to find yourself with a survival kit without the necessary items. So double check. Also included is a Ziploc bag. We've got everything put in here. And again, we can just slip this in our cargo pocket. Just make sure you throw in, one of the Sunto or Bruton compasses to complete the kit. And again, here are the two components for the kits. Each one goes in your pocket. Let me tell you one thing too, though, just another tip, is if you have it in a pack, sometimes you could lay your pack down. Having your survival items on your person in case you need to really get out of there can really mean the difference between life and death. So at least have a small mini kit with you at all times. And again, these were about $100 at the Army Navy sales. I'll have a link down below in the description so you can check that out. So guys, again, we're going to the well. The U.S. military knows what they're doing when it comes to survival. And whether you get this kit itself or you put together the items that are in this kit, because they're all commercially available pretty much. This is a great way to build your survival kit. And guys, if you're serious about prepping and survival, check out Survival Dispatch Insider. Again, one of the top resources on the web for survival and prepping. Many of the world-renowned contributors are there, and we upload one video a week on the Insider. I'll have a link down below in the description. Check it out. Be strong, be of good courage. God bless America. Long live the Republic. Today we're going to take a look at the class. Very difficult to find. These are actually all right, what the
I'm certain I have seen that video before. I am very certain. Okay, got one here from Bosnian Bill. This was interesting. It's titled 3 Yes Padlock Secrets Revealed. This is pretty cool. I like this.
All right, guys, today I'm going to show you the secret of the 3 Yes lock. And I got to tell you, this thing has been in my naughty bucket for more than 3 years. It's taken me that long. I'm a slow learner. I did go to public school. It took me that long to figure this darn thing out. It's kind of a weird shaped lock. On the end of it, it's what it looks like. It is a dimple lock. I don't know if you can see. There's a total of 8 dimples down the side of there. Here's what the key looks like. Here's what the logo says, though. The 3S lock, the lock's never been picked. It may be true until today. And here's probably some kind of more bragging stuff. Here's what your key looks like. It is a kind of funky looking key. You got these 3 ribs of different lengths and widths. And then we have a total of what looks like 8 dimples on there. And they're both located on the bottom left and the bottom right. The top, that's just, well, we'll talk about that. These are different lengths, so you can only put this key in one way. You can't, in the dark, you can't put it in the wrong way. It's got to go in like that, and then it rotates 90 degrees, and when it does, voila, open. Now, it is a mechanical block, so there's no spring-loaded locking pawl. We're not going to be able to bump it open or shim it, anything like that. We are going to be forced to pick it. Now, I got to tell you, I've been working on it for 3 years, so I think I know a thing or two about it. Let me go ahead and clamp this guy up, and I'll show you exactly what we're looking at here. All right, that ought to hold it. Now, you notice these are 3 different lengths. I'm going to use the bottom one here, and I just use the top of the keyway, but in the bottom like this, and that's because it's in between, and I can actually use, let me move the microphone a little bit, I can use the cutout here as kind of leverage to align my pick with the dimples. Now, they are quite rounded. It's a little bit of a struggle to get the tip of that little pick onto them. Let me turn them around the right way here. And let's see what we got. Now, you'd think I'd be pretty good at this part, having done it probably more than 100 times. Okay, I'm going to line up. It's going to be a little bit awkward. I'm going to go from the other groove. And I can't pick left-handed. Sorry, guys. That was the second one. That was the second one there. All right, I just got a fault set. And I've gotten here hundreds of times. And then I continue to struggle, but I noticed that all the dimples are now locked and I could never figure it out. The thought was, when you take a look at this key, I looked at these little side rail things and I figured, well, maybe there's something down there that has to be pushed to the exact depth. And it's perfectly clear on all three rails. There's nothing in the rail. I did not know what to attack. Then I got to looking at this key again. I've got 8 dimples. Let's zoom that out so it focuses a little bit better. I've got 8 dimples on this guy. 4 there, I got 4 there. Got these 3 rail things, and you remember I pointed this out. Those 2 little, I thought they were manufacturing, artifacts from perhaps the casting of the key. But then I got to thinking about it. This might be a mix of technologies, because that's aligned perfectly on the top here, and there's a reason that this core is really large. I just got to wondering what that might be. And then it occurred to me, those might be little bitty magnets down the side of there. So, out comes a magneto from Sparrows. I'm going to put it up here where I believe they probably are, and I'm going to lighten up on the tension, and just jiggle him. Oh, powerful, powerful. And just jiggle him back and forth a little bit. Try not to get him caught on anything. And I got to lighten up on the tension, and there you go. Once that happens, we get an open. So that, my friends, is the secret of the 3 years lock. The 3 yes 8 dimple lock. Anyway, guys, appreciate your time. Stay safe, stay legal. Now, if you ever run across one of these, you better pull out that magnet. You're going to need it. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, that would be a very good lock to have. It really, truly would. All right, got one that just came hot off the press from We Are Change. You're going to like this. Exclusive first ever look inside Epstein Private Island. No joke. And by the way, I will tell you this. In, I want to say his last video, he has urged people to download a copy of this and re-upload it. Okay? Just saying. His last video, that was his request, that we all download it and re-upload it, which I'm not going to re-upload it to the Watchman News. But, yeah, it'll be there, though. It'll be in our archives. So, without further ado, We Are Change, exclusive, first ever look inside Epstein's private island. I hope Hillary's not there.
Well, hello from Jeffrey Epstein's island. I'm walking around the whole island. There's like no one here. Very interesting place. The swimming pool looks like it's in good shape. So oddly quiet here.
Oh, golf carts. Get the fuck out.
What? Shit.
Hurry up, you guys.
Get your asses on there. Epstein Island. Jeff and Luke.
Holy shit.
This is Rukadowski of WeAreChange.org here with Jeff Berwick, the dollar vigilante off yet.
Another crazy, insane adventure, this time to Jeffrey Epstein's private island, Little St. James. And there's a lot of things we're going to have to get into in this video, but I don't even know where to begin. I mean, just even being here, it was difficult finding a boat operator. Jeff, just start it off from here.
Well, we were in the area and we thought, no one's ever gone on this island. No real media, no anyone really that I know of has ever gone on. We only get the information from the government and the mainstream media, and those are the two things you can never trust with information. So we're like, well, I guess we have to go and check this out and see if it's even real. For all we know, there might not be anything there. Like, it's always lies what they tell us. And for all we know, there could still be some activity going on there. Maybe Bill Clinton's there, maybe Jeffrey Epstein's there. No one's looking into this. So we took it upon ourselves to, well, let's do it. But it wasn't easy. Most captains said they wouldn't take us to the island. There's all kinds of, you're in different countries on different islands, so we had to work our way around that, make sure we weren't doing too many illegal things all at once. And yeah, just rolling up to the island and actually seeing that temple, which is there, so we have verified that. This is a lot of verification of what is actually there. Was pretty surreal.
Yeah, and it was also kind of a little daunting, a little scary kind of going in there because, in some jurisdictions you could just get shot and killed for going on private property. And this is someone that was extremely powerfully connected to presidents, prime ministers, royalty, and was able to evade law enforcement for some of the worst, most despicable acts in this world. This is a man that literally, when he was finally put to court, was given a slap on the wrist by someone who was previously working inside of Trump's administration that somehow was connected. Again, the interconnectedness of Jeffrey Epstein is just absolutely mind-boggling. I mean, we're talking about billionaires, leaders, bankers, the most influential people who were on that island, and there was really no one else to verify it. All of I've really seen from independent media is a guy who is anonymous or a girl who is anonymous that is flying drones over the island and just documenting what is there. So being in the area, I'm like, we have to see what's going on here because there was other drone footage showing that there was stuff moved before the U.S. federal government came in. And then, as we know, the U.S. federal government, the federal authorities can't be trusted here. For over a decade, they let Jeffrey Epstein go on and be totally free. He not only had a private wing of his own jail cell, he was able to leave during the day. He was supposed to check in with parole officers that he never did check in. But even the journey here of trying to find a boat, we were able to find out some other information about how this wasn't even that big of secret on this island at all.
Yeah, talking to the locals, people have lived here for 20 years. They're like, oh, everyone knew. You just see the 12, 13-year-old girls waiting on the dock. They'd come get picked up, go to Epstein Island. So it's incredibly out in the open. And, people like Bill Clinton came here, 50 times? A huge amount of times. It's just like when we go to Bilderberg, right? The mainstream media doesn't cover any of that stuff. They don't cover, because we knew about this. I know we were talking about this for years about Epstein Island. We were talking about it before everyone heard about it in the mainstream news. And we're talking about how Bill Clinton's going there, Prince Andrew's going there, and no one it was just so out in the open. They were so brazen that they're like, well, no one can arrest us. We're involved with all the people who would arrest us. So rolling up to the island was pretty surreal, and we did not know what to expect. We had because no one had ever done this before. So we didn't know if there was going to be 100 DE agents, FBI agents, all armed. We didn't know if there was anyone on the island. So we had all these plans. I don't know if you want to mention some of the plans. It was a stupid plan.
The whole thing is pretty ridiculous what we were doing, but you had this idea because we were staying at some kind of resort. We're at Joby Weeks, and he's like an OCD kind of traveler. But we got these kind of wristbands here. It says Langley Resort. So one of our plans, out of many plans, was literally just showing up there, and if someone stops, be like, oh yeah, we're here with Langley. You didn't get the memo, and then being like, hey, you got to talk to my supervisor Jeff. Jeff, you would have. There was 4 other people. We had so many different plans. All of them fell through last minute. All of them didn't work out. I remember being so frustrated in the morning because I knew how important this was. We were kind of bickering with each other, like, come on, we got to do this. And then what ended up happening is this random last minute, the captain who said he wasn't going to, he said he was like, yeah, I'm not getting my boat seized, I'm not getting in trouble, but last minute we were just going around the island. I was like, let's go around the island. He pulled up to the dock, he was like, you got 5 seconds. You're going to do this? Do it now. And I was like, oh, literally quickly grabbed my shoes.
And I'm like, grab my shoes, by the way. Yeah. I just have to say, Epstein Island is full of jagged little rocks, and I didn't bring my shoes, so I'm in bare feet trying to run, especially near the end. We'll get to that part, but we went through the whole island with jagged rocks. Yeah. So it was like this sort of, we didn't know if we were going to do it, we didn't know, and it was just like, and all of a sudden the captain, he was really great. At last minute, he goes, if you're going to do it, you got 5 seconds, and you just jumped, and you're like, Jeff, come, and I'm like, all right, let's go.
Yeah. I remember in the back, I'm like, he's give me 5 seconds. I quickly put on my shoes. I'm like, do I have my cameras? Okay, luckily I had my cameras in my pockets. And I'm like, Jeff, come, let's go. And you're like, okay. And I'm like, okay, good. I'm not going to be on my own, because I would be terrified on there on my own. I'm like, okay, thank goodness I had Jeff with me. And then
it would have been creepy to be there on your own, because you just don't know what's there. We heard so many things, and we're on it's quite a big place with the mansion and the temple and all kinds of. There's a huge what do you call it, sundial? Yeah. Very interesting. But it was kind of creepy, because at first we didn't see anyone. It was like, we even went into like offices and places, and nothing was locked. Yeah. But it was like eerily weird because there was no one. But we later found out there was some people.
Yeah. I mean, I got a phone call and I was running up to you. I mean, you were running like Forrest Gump. It was extremely impressive to see that run. But like when we got on there, you're like, okay, let's get the selfie stick. I'm like, dude, you don't understand what we're doing. Like, put down the selfie stick. Let's go. Let's get down low. Let's be quiet. And let's traverse this. And we traversed a large part of the island. We didn't get to see everything. We kind of stayed out of the fray. I was always looking, always paranoid. At first, we thought no one was there because there was no kind of signs there. But pulling up, I was always a little bit skeptical because the grass was kind of taken care of. We also looked at the pool, and we're like, the pool's also taken care of, so there's people there. And it's important to understand here is that this independent anonymous drone operator who's afraid to release his identity, who's flying the drones over there, captured Epstein's Island with particular items in there that were swept between the federal government coming in. And with the federal government and their investigations not trustworthy, this is why we went in there to try to take a look at everything. And I looked at everything. I looked at every garbage pallet. I went into the ambulance. I checked in to briefcases that were in the dumpster. I made sure that there was no stone unturned. I remember there was a lot of people talking about the possibility of tunnels there. Sadly, we were not there for a long time. We were there for about a half an hour, traversing a lot of landscape that was.
I love this stuff. We went into the office and stuff. It's cleaned out. Like there's no evidence of anything. But the most interesting to me was the temple. And I heard a lot of people saying from this drone footage that it's not even like, it's like not 3D. It's like a flat wall that they made painted. Looks like it's like goods, all this stuff. So we went up and we checked, and yeah, it's just a flat wall. The door is painted on. And I have to say about the temple, he was a billionaire. I say was, he's probably still alive, but he is or was a billionaire. That seemed like the cheapest little temple I've ever seen. Like, why would you just paint, I could have built that myself for about $5,000, I think. And the dome flew off, and there was no hole underneath the dome, which is what you would have if you had a true dome. So it almost looked like a Hollywood set. Actually, that's exactly what it looked like.
Yeah, and it's important to note that the dome flew off during a recent hurricane here. So the situation here has definitely been changing. The most interesting things that I personally found were these like little satanic gargoyles with horns on their heads that were all over the property that were very creepy. I also found a chair that was completely made out of horns and looked like some kind of animal hide. That was very creepy and kind of very weird to look at. But other than that, we weren't really that successful because as we're going through our little mission, we're like, okay, the pool's taken care of. There's someone here. We got to be quieter. Luckily somehow I got service, and our good friend Joby Weeks called me. He was like, dude, there's a lot of people. There's people running all over. We just heard screaming. Are you okay? There's people going around in golf carts. Like, get out, get out, get out. And I'm like, oh, crap. This is not. So this is something that has a lot of serious implications. There's a reason the guy who flies the drone around the island is anonymous. There's a reason Epstein was able to evade any kind of justice for his horrible acts for decades and decades. There's a reason why this case is so significant, and yet the mainstream media just totally threw it out of the news cycle. I mean, this is crazy. This is absolutely crazy. And we were there. We were also there at the helicopter pad, and it was even, reported previously before that Epstein would just get on his private jet, land at the St. Thomas airport, take a helicopter over so no one else would see him to do other things. There was air traffic control that actually came out and whistleblowed and said that he saw many small children going onto the helicopter, going onto the private jet. So, the severity of this case is still widely unknown. We still don't know so many significant parts of this story, and the story is just erased from the mainstream media. No, the story can't be erased. This story can't be ignored, and it can't be ignored only if we start paying attention to it and start sharing the fact that this is still an open case. This is still a case that has a lot of serious implications, where we have royalty like Prince Andrew in the United Kingdom that are still running about free to do whatever horrible acts that they want to do. And again, the implications here, the allegations here are so severe, and it's just insane. I mean, even talking to that guy yesterday, he was like, yeah, the whole island knew. Everyone knew what was going on here. Like, if you know about these really sinister acts happening, like, holy cow.
And we should mention, too, that he told us, and we didn't get too into specifics, but he said there's actually another island, quite a lot like the Epstein Island, there's still things going on. So we're looking into that right now. It's a lot of interesting things happening with this whole situation.
Yeah, I mean, this is why we need independent media. This is why we need independent investigation. But it was a crazy adventure. I mean, that running scene with... we can't just stop laughing at each other how ridiculous we were, because again, I got the phone call from Joby, and I'm literally running through half the island because me and Jeff decided to separate just in case, because as soon as we saw some of the upkeep, some of the people still there, we were like, okay, let's keep separated in case you get caught. I still have some footage. In case I get caught, I still have some footage. Let's make sure we don't get caught at all. But then after getting that phone call from Joby, like, run, get out of here right now. I was running behind you, and I'm like, dude, you're doing your little walk and talk videos, which are great, by the way. I love the walk and talk videos. I started doing them too. I was like, dude, get out of the open, hide into the bushes. But before I even got to say hide into the greenery, the bushes, you were off, man. You were not trying to have it at all.
That is the fastest I think I've ever ran. And we've been to Bilderberg and Venezuela and Somalia, where we've been in situations. In Venezuela, we thought we had to run a few times. People were telling us to run. I run from the airport. You can see in the footage. I was just doing my walk and talk. If you don't know Dollar Vigilante, check it out. I do walk and talks all the time. And I thought, why not? I got back to the beach, and I was so happy because I was off the rocks, because that was an hour of torture for me. And I get down there. I'm like, okay, we're only about half a mile from the boat. I'm just going to do my walk and talk. So I just start, and you can see Luke coming up behind me. He's like, run, you idiot. And as soon as you'd said, I don't think I looked at the video. I'm like, holy cow, I'm pretty fast when I have to be.
Yeah. And then I just see them book it. I'm like, I start laughing a little bit. I'm like, okay, this is pretty crazy. I ran off to the bushes, and I saw also the kind of private massage area. If you know about the Jeffrey Epstein kind of scandal, he used to, usually bait a lot of his victims with, quote, massages, but he had a whole private massage room that was hidden behind a lot of greenery that I'd never seen before, that I also filmed. He also paid an estimated $20,000 for every palm tree over there to make the area more secluded so people couldn't on boats see exactly what was happening. And when I was running past that area, the massage area, it was extremely secluded. It was extremely private. The whole place just was very, very weird as far as the vibe. But that also could have to do with our kind of adrenaline, with our kind of like, okay, what's going on here? Kind of last minute, spur of the moment excursion onto the island, which was supposed to be, first of all, just we were supposed to just go around the island by boat and then just kind of make an assessment there. And then our captain surprised us after having 20 different plans of being on that island. We were like, okay, let's just go. Let's just see what's going on here.
Leroy Jenkins is like, Leroy, jump. And then we're just like going for like an hour.
Yeah.
That was crazy.
Yeah. I mean, it was just absolutely insane. Again, the Jeffrey Epstein story is an incredibly important story to really understand what's happening behind the scenes. There's still a huge layer that we don't know. This is why we took the risk that we're doing. We're doing this risk because we want this information out there to expose the bigger lies that the mainstream media is not covering. I mean, the mainstream media was obsessing about Russian collusion for 2 years. That never exists. We were calling it out as a hoax. We were getting attacked because of it. And now Jeffrey Epstein, the most biggest important story that you could speculate so many different things, that you have so many different witnesses, so many different victims coming forward. Now, that's just not important? Come on. That's absolutely ridiculous. Jeff, anything else you want to say about our little particular excursion?
I think that's about it.
Can you just release your video on one of your channels of you just running, and I could link in below, because that just full running scene. Can we just do that?
It was pretty funny. Yeah, I'm sure you're gonna have it in this video. I would just say, support independent media, risking our lives quite regularly. It's more Luke than me. I'm not really a journalist, so to speak, but Luke is, and he gets no support. There's no pharmaceutical companies going to sponsor his things, and he wouldn't let them anyway. So just support these sort of channels. At least hit the like button. At least hit the share, and actually you might want to download this and maybe put it on other channels, because I'll be surprised if this stays up.
Yeah, I mean, we take these risks because of you, and I want to thank Jeff, who's on these crazy adventures. These adventures wouldn't be possible. Like, if I'm on that boat, if I'm on Jeffrey Epstein Island by myself, I would not be going as far, looking and trying to investigate everything I could be, because it's absolutely terrifying. So I want to thank Jeff Berwick, the Dollar Vigilante. Check out his YouTube channel. Check out Anarchapulco, a great way to meet other like-minded, freedom-evoking individuals who want to promote liberty, who want to promote freedom. And if you want to find out about that, just go to anarchapulco.com. A great event happening in February. A lot of surprise speakers that we can't even talk about right now, that you told me, and I'm like, whoa, this is definitely going to be worth coming out to. Use the promo code WRC to get 10 or 20% off your ticket. Still not sure the exact amount, but you'll get a discount just by using the promo code WRC. And I hope to see all of you amazing human beings in Acapulco, at Anarchapulco, with a more freedom, anarchy kind of mindset with your fellow brothers and sisters. Thank you again so much for watching. Stay tuned for more here on wearechange.org.
Jeff, there's people on golf carts. Get the fuck to the side. To the side, Jeff, to the side. To the side.
What?
Jeff! Jeff!
Alright, we're off up front. Let's go.
Hello.
Thank God.
Bye-bye.
Thank fucking God.
Alrighty, give me just a second here. Sending Jen a link. As soon as I can get my head out of my butt. There it is. Not my head, but that's firmly planted in my butt. Okay, Facebook page. Let's see. Yeah, I'll tell you what. That's a man that can tell some stories. That is somebody that man, he's been there, he's done it. He truly has. He's got cojones of iron, I'm telling you. The places that he's gone to, I wouldn't even, no. I wouldn't even entertain the thought of going half the places that he's gone to. Okay, got one here from Israeli News Live, and it's titled, "Is al-Baghdadi Death Staged?"
I'm Stephen Ben-Nun. You're watching Israel.
Oh, before I forget, I was going to give an update. I've had this battery on charge now for somewhere right about 2 hours for this drone. Just kind of giving you an idea. So again, I've had it on charge for just right right at about 2 hours now. So, and it's still charging. So I'm hoping that it's about finished up. Now, I'm not 100% positive how many amps that charger is. I will have to take a look at it. I don't want to mess with it while it's charging. I'll have to take a look at it when it's done charging. I'm not sure if it's a 2 amp charger or maybe a 1 or 1.5. So I'm thinking probably a 1.5, but I'll check as soon as it's done charging. Anyway, here you go.
Israeli News Live. Is al-Baghdadi, is it a staged death? Is he really dead? That's the question that we are asking not only this morning, but we were actually asking this yesterday when we did our broadcast with Bonnie Harvey on Hebrew Nation Radio. Right after I did the broadcast, I got a text in. I have it on the screen here in front of me. I just kind of photographed it, sent it to myself because I can't reveal that information. But I got it at 8:43. Is it 8:43 a.m. I believe it is when this text came through to me. Well, that's what it says on here. That could be the text above it. But at any rate, the question was put forth because I'd asked the question to my own source. Could it have been a feather in Trump's cap just to stage this attack? That was my question, because a lot of people were saying he was dead. And so this was the answer back to me. It was a feather in the hat for Trump, but it was not faked. Now, that's the original part. The most interesting thing, he was living in a compound based on Trump's words. This is not where someone like him would hide. Mullah Omar of the Taliban lived his last 8 years in a very primitive 2-bedroom mud brick house with one bodyguard, and that, as he goes on to say, because I'm having to switch to the next text here, I just photographed it. Primitive 2, okay, brick house with that, okay, and that's why they could never find him. So he was under protection from some intelligence service, same as bin Laden was, and he was living in a compound. All right, then he concludes it. He says, the strangest thing in all this is the fact that this happened right in the heart of Al-Qaeda, al-Nusra heartland. So how could he hide in the midst of his arch enemies that would have killed him in an instant if they knew he was there? Now, I was thinking maybe I'd share that with you guys here on Israeli News Live. Maybe I did not, but I knew I'd spoke about it yesterday when I got it. And it turns out it was when I was on with Bonnie Harvey on Hebrew Nation Radio. We did the pre-record. Of course, it was uploaded yesterday. This morning, though, RT, one of their guests, was sharing that exact same thought. How could he be killed? And they said that even the Russians are questioning it, whether or not he was really killed, because what would al-Baghdadi be doing in Idlib, where there is no safe haven for him? Let's listen to President Trump where you can tell he's reading a script because he's going very slow, but just listen to what he says here.
Tonight, the United States brought the world's #1 terrorist leader to justice. Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi is dead. He ignited his vest, killing himself and the 3 children. Baghdadi has been on the run for many years, long before I took office. But at my direction, as Commander-in-Chief of the United States, we obliterated his caliphate 100% in March of this year.
Now, the video that you're seeing now purportedly shows the site where Baghdadi had been hiding out.
Listen to this.
Trump said that the terror chief fled down a tunnel with 3 of his children when U.S. Special Forces stormed the compound. Then, as you heard Mr. Trump say, Baghdadi then reportedly detonated a suicide vest, killing himself and his children. Russia's defense ministries responded to the US president's announcement with skepticism, saying it has no credible evidence of the strikes. Last hour, we asked Michael Maloof, who's a former Pentagon official, what the development, if true, will mean for ISIL.
Well, I think it'll give it fresh impetus to continue on, but the question is the successor going to be as charismatic and unifying as possible? Now, I'm hearing that even with Kardashian, there are elements within ISIS which is fragmented in different parts of the world that have their own ideas of who should be the titular leader that can unify the group once again. But Kardashian was appointed by al-Baghdadi, and so he may become the heir apparent unless someone supersedes that.
I was listening to it live this morning, so I wasn't in this particular broadcast here, but at least you were able to see that even the Russians do not believe that he was actually killed in this, or skepticism that he was actually killed. One of their guests on this morning in the live broadcast, so did reiterate what we had said yesterday on Hebrew Nation Radio. That's Flashpoint for those of you that would like to go watch that broadcast. First part of the broadcast, first half hour, we're talking about the Noahide laws and how that Yana has really brought a lot of people to talking on this subject here. Which, don't forget, this Wednesday, just a couple of days from now, 8 p.m. Eastern, we will be debating Dr. Michael Brown here on Israeli News Live on the subject. And so that ought to be a very interesting broadcast. Hope you'll be tuning in for that. And so the question is al-Baghdadi really dead? Fourth time, by the way, that he's been killed, or is it fifth time? I forget which one now, but so many people have claimed to kill him thus far. But this time, though, they may really take him off the scene, even if he did not die, for the sake of making President Trump look good. And I know that a lot of people are going to say, oh, that's not true, Steve. You really got him, Well, he also said, too, that ISIS is 100% eradicated, but yet you saw the other day, even in Western media, after we'd reported this, that ISIS was freed from their prisons by the Turkish military, helped to be moved to 3 different locations for retraining and preparation for finishing overthrowing Iraq, as well as coming back on a insurgent on Syria once again. So ISIS is not eradicated, and we'll just have to wait to see how these things play out. I'm Steve Ben-Nun. You're watching Israeli News Live. Erev Tov.
Alrighty, got one from Bear Independent here titled Time and Money for Business and Prepping.
Good morning, Bear Nation. It's Bear with BearIndependent.com. I wanted to just kind of talk around a concept briefly. I get a lot of praise, which is awesome, from people who say things like, Bear, we don't know where you find the time, or I don't understand how you have all the energy to, do all the different things that you do. And there's one of you out there, I don't even know if you're still here now, it's like, Bear, we get it, you're busy, quit telling us about all the things that you do. Yeah, find another channel, bro. I have a wife and children, we have a homestead, we have an extended family, we have a tribe that we fellowship with and we do life with. We have a mutual assistance group. We have 3 internet-based businesses, 2 channels for me, 1 channel for my wife, and a 501c3 ministry that performs relief missions. Yeah. And did I mention the homestead? Animals and gardens and row crops and fix this thing and make that thing happen and blah, 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 blah. And so, the reason I'm bringing all this up is because a lot of people ask me, they're like, dude, how do I need a side hustle so I can get money for prepping, or I'm trying to transition, out of the city into the country, come out of her, my people, and my job is here and I don't have one there. What do I do? And so I just wanted to kind of illustrate one concept that I use, is that I start projects. I'm like, I'm going to go do this thing, whatever it may be. Whatever it may be. We'll say, for example, first aid kits. Okay. I did a poll a long while ago on Patreon. what kind of bear swag do you all want? Do you want stickers? Do you want hats? Do you want morale patches? Do you want t-shirts? And then just on a kind of a whim, I put first aid kits in there. You want first aid kits? And in the first day, there were 330 some responses, and over 60% of them were, yeah, Bear, we want first aid kits. Okay. Cool. Because I think I want to make first aid kits. But now I know that my audience, I know that there's a need and a want in the market, so that it's worth making this product. So if it's worth making this product, I might as well make it, right? So, point being here, sorry, there was a school bus maneuvering, so that was interesting. If I'm gonna make first aid kits anyway, now I know that this project of me making first aid kits, I was making first aid kits anyway. I was making them for myself, for my friends, for my family, right? I already know what needs to go in there. So how do we take this from a hobby or from a project to a business? It's like, okay, well, the first 100 bear facts that we sent out with them a questionnaire, and it said, be brutally honest. What do you think? What do you think? Do you love it? Do you hate it? Good value, not a good value, blah, blah, blah. Give me your absolutely unrestrained feedback, good, bad, or indifferent. And we use that to get better, right? And then we got the Gen 2s, and so I guess the point that I'm trying to make here is that I didn't sit around and wait for things to be perfect to get going. And I mentioned recently on Men's Group Monday that I'm an 80% guy. If I'm 80% certain that this is going to work, I'm going. And that last 20%, I could very well be wrong. Cool. I care much more about my own sense of purpose than I care about whether or not somebody judges me from the sidelines saying, oh, well, your thing failed, Bear. Cool. Nothing ventured, nothing gained. You enjoy sitting on your couch and criticizing other people who go do things. I'm going to go do things. And even if you do fail, you've learned from the doing. Hey, I know why I failed, because we're switched on and paying attention all the time, right? And so I'm kind of tap dancing all around this subject, but what I'm saying here is that there's probably a hobby or a project that you're working on right now that if you put 10% more into it than you are and applied some basic business skills to it, you could have a side hustle. You could have an extra revenue stream. Or at the very least, let's say you did make first aid kits. And I would encourage you, make the best damn first aid kit you can make. And market them head to head against mine, because the market loves that. Because we'll both get better, right? Let's say you did that. Guess what? Now you're getting medical product at cost. So when it comes time to prep medical product, you're getting it at cost. Maybe you start a web store so that all the things that you're selling to preppers out there, you can get at cost for yourself to prep. Maybe you work a deal with Augustin Farms or Mountain House to be a supplier for them so that you can get their product at cost, right? This is not a novel concept. This goes way back. That sun is brutal. There we go. So if you just put 10% more effort into whatever that hobby is that you have right now, assuming you want to monetize your hobby, because there is a danger in monetizing your hobby. Believe me, YouTube was a hobby for me at one point. And now it's a blessing that we treat as a business and we apply sound business principles to. But if you monetize away all of your hobbies, then there's no relief for you. There's no place for you to go that is just yours. So be careful of that. But you could take a hobby or an interest or a project or a passion and figure out a way to make money with it, just by putting a little bit more into it than you are right now. Don't wait for things to be perfect at all in life, because they're never perfect. There's never a right time to get pregnant. There's never a right time to get that knee surgery. There's never a perfect time to start a business. There are better times and there are worse times, but there's never one that's perfect. So if you're 4/5 sure, if you're 80% sure, just go with it. Go with it. Better odds in the casinos, and there's jokers in there all day, every day. Just pulling that lever, waiting on the payout to happen. So I'm not entirely sure how to put the fine point on this that I'm trying to say, but it's entirely possible for you to create a revenue stream for yourself doing something that you love that will allow you to have money for whatever. Maybe you want to buy a new Peterbilt. Maybe you want to buy a new AR-10, right? Maybe you want to buy body armor before it's outlawed. Who cares? Whatever your thing is, who cares? As long as it's morally and ethically sound, I could care less what you do with your money. So that's the, Bear, how do you do all these things? That's part of it. I'm not sitting around burning time second guessing myself. I'm going. And if we fail, we fail. If we have to pivot, let's say, for example, the consulting business turns into, it's going great, but we're finding that most of this consulting is people that really want prepper construction projects done. Good, pivot. Now we're a prepper construction company. Am I upset about it? No, not in the least. Is the fulfillment there? Yep. Is the revenue there? Yep. Are we helping people? Yep. Who cares, right? So if you have to pivot, pivot. And then the time is the time. Prioritize and execute, and don't be fooled. Y'all only see a little bit of my life, and I mean that in a good way and a bad way. You only see the part of my life that I allow you to see, and so a lot of the times it very much so appears, wow, that Bear, man, he's on top of it. He's getting all these things done. And I am, because I prioritize and execute. But I also, man, there are many a time when I check in with my accountability partners, you know what they tell me? Bro, it's time to prioritize and execute. You can't do all these things. I have this constant back and forth with my Bava, my BA virtual assistant, who's a real human being whom I know in real life, Monica, and clap hand to Monica because she's awesome. We constantly are going back and forth. She's like, T, I think that you want to do this, but I don't think that you can do this because of XYZ. And I'm like, okay. I'm my own good idea fairy, right? So I'm constantly having to prioritize and execute. I'm constantly having to course correct, and I'm constantly having to make things happen. But when it comes to time and scheduling, it's just there's things that are important and things that aren't. And whatever those things are for you, those are your things. But what's important to you and what isn't? Like, frankly, I don't care, and I do not condone my kids, like each kid being in 3 different after-school activities each quarter. No way, man. Number 1, focus on the one thing that you're good at and brings you joy and fulfillment. And number 2, that's a poor utilization of everybody's time, because then it creates expectations. Well, Dad wasn't at my 3rd string soccer scrimmage. No, Dad wasn't. Because Dad can't be at everything. Dad can be at one thing, Dad can't be at everything, right? But maybe for you, you want to be at everything. Cool. It's going to eat up your available time. Like, you got to understand that. Life is full of decisions. Where are you going? What are you doing? So, and then the other thing is, I think a lot of people, not everybody, but a lot of people spend a lot of time lounging and a lot of time thinking. And if you're a lounger or a thinker, that's cool. Those are not my character traits. like I said, I'm like, put a plan together. Let's get it to 80%, and then we execute, and then we're going. And we'll course correct. I'll find the other 95% or the other 15% to bring us to 95, because nothing's ever 100% perfect, right? We'll make that up as we go. We'll figure it out. But I mean, anybody who's ever been on a mission with me knows that. That's how I roll. Hey man, we're here. We'll figure it out. Do the next right thing. So, you know, how do you do it? Just do it. Put it in 10% more than you're doing right now and apply sound business principles. Just basics. You got to make more money than you spend, right? And don't on the front end, like, I know a lot of people on the front end who are like, well, I really want to make $40 an hour, so I'm just going to start charging $40 an hour right now, which is fine if you have the skills. If you don't have the skills, there's no point in charging $40 an hour. You should be doing whatever you can to learn right now. You should be charging $12 an hour, and your sales pitch is, I'm charging $12 an hour because I could very well make some mistakes, and I'm using this as a learning opportunity. You charge 12 until you're charging 24, then you're charging 36, and then you're charging 48. Boom, 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 boom. And then when you're at 48, man, you've got a lot of history of doing this kind of work. You're developing expertise. You're a subject matter expert now. You know how to do the things, right? So, yeah, put 10% more into whatever it is that you're doing right now. And then scheduling-wise, just make it happen. You can't do everything, so pick what you are going to do. I hope this helps somebody. I realize I'm tap dancing all over the place here, but you know, the two questions, or two of the questions that I get most often is, where do I get the money and where do I get the time? There's an answer. Shalom.
Alrighty. Let's see here. Oh, man. I am telling you. Okay, got one here from Iraq Veteran 8888, and it's titled Gun Gripes number 212, Unfair Comparisons.
Welcome back, everybody. This is Eric and Chad here with Iraq Veteran 8888. Today we've got another Gun Gripe episode for you, and we're going to be diving into the unfair metrics that get skewed and put into some random agenda when it comes to the way the anti-gunners and the mainstream media skewers data that they report to the public about firearms, okay? And in particular case, today's subject is going to be about a 60 Minutes article that was put out about how the AR-15 is so much more powerful than a standard 9mm handgun, and they go into all these details and everything. Well, of course it's more powerful. We're going to go into a little bit more detail. But if you want to learn more about firearms technology, definitely check out the folks at Sonoran Desert Institute. They are great people. They'll take care of you. They've got some wonderful programs if you're looking for higher education in the way of firearms technology. Definitely a group of people you need to check out. And I definitely want to thank them for allowing Gun Gripes to continue raw, unadulterated, unfiltered, in your face, straight to the point. So let's get after the facts a little bit. So data is data, right? You know, when we look at the scientific aspects of what projectiles do when they leave the barrel of your gun, right? We can turn those numbers any way we wish, right? So this 60 Minutes article wants to make it like the AR-15 is this evil tool of destruction, and only bad people would want to own an AR-15, and and somehow like the 9mm is like the patron saint of all things that are good because it's so much less powerful than this horrible, deadly AR-15 that everyone just has to point their finger at. But let's talk about some other cartridges, right? And the purpose of this video is not to give the antis fuel to go, oh, well, we should go after 50 BMG because X reason. No, the point is they only report what they want to fit their agenda and not what reality dictates, right? Mm-hmm. AR-15s are not used in a lot of crimes at all, okay? If we want to look at crime rates, sure, handguns might be used in some crimes here and there, but handguns are also, when you look at the data, used in suicides, they're used in gang activity and other criminal activity that involves gangs and everything like that. And then police, all of the data of police shootings gets put into those metrics. That's not what this video is about. I mean, you can look at the FBI statistics and anybody can skewer those results to fit their agenda any way they want. But the fact is, the devil's in the data, and the details in the data don't care about your feelings. Facts are what they are. So let's discuss this a bit.
Well, I think the biggest thing is that the mainstream media and anti-gunners always skew data in their favor, and the general public is typically ignorant to the facts, and when the facts are presented to them in such a way, it really puts gun owners and the Second Amendment as a whole and gun rights activism in a bad light. But when you're talking about comparing rifle statistics to handgun statistics, like Eric said, handguns are used in a lot more crime. Okay, but so are knives and blunt objects and everything else, and then they wrap all the other things into the same metric there, and it really throws everything off. But okay, an AR, okay, with a 62 grain projectile moving at 3,000 feet per second, you got about 1,200 foot-pounds of energy. When you're talking about 9mm, pretty much anything in between 115 and 147 grain pill is going to give you between 300 and 400 foot-pounds of energy. So handguns are paltry in the energy department compared to rifle cartridges. But the big thing is that, okay, well, the AR is way more powerful than a handgun. Okay, so yeah, it is. Well, a 30-06 is more powerful than an AR. But nobody's going after Grandpa's hunting gun. You know, you've seen those old videos where the guys will shoot like a watermelon with an AR or whatever, and then they say, all right, watch this. And they'll shoot it with a M1 Garand or,
shotgun slug.
Yeah, a shotgun slug or whatever the case is. And I was like, look how much more energy there is. But like Eric said, we don't want to give anti-fuel to the fire, but trying to put the facts out there that this is what it is, okay? Energy is what it is. You take a projectile moving at a certain speed that has a certain weight to it, it is going to create X amount of energy. There is no denying the math.
Well, I honestly feel like, a more fair comparison, not that, and here's the thing, don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to say that let's compare power for power, what these rounds can do, as a way to say, oh, well, we need this or we need that in the way of gun control. I believe that all gun control is absolutely unconstitutional and it is an infringement. I don't believe in gun control. I don't believe in gun laws. I think it's all bogus crap. I'm all for constitutional Second Amendment as it's written. But the more fair comparison, if you're going to compare power to power, you don't compare a handgun round to a rifle round. You compare a rifle round to other rifle rounds, right? So if we look at the power that 5.56 generates, and let's just compare it to some of its cousins, right? And see what kind of energy we're talking. That's a more fair comparison. So when you start talking a rifle cartridge like 5.56 in an AR platform, okay, it generates a certain amount of power, but look at this little guy. It's one of the in terms of bore size and case capacity, it's one of the smallest rifle cartridges on this table right now. Now, did I do that purposely to try to skewer the facts and go, oh, well, I chose all these others just because they're all so much bigger than this? No. 5.56 is a small round. It's a small bore round. It's not a huge round, and there's not many other centerfire cartridges that are smaller than 5.56. Okay? So let's just kind of discuss some rifle caliber metrics, okay? So what about the other round that everybody thinks about? It's 30-06. All right, here we've got some black tip 30-06 in a Garand charger, an 8-shot Garand charger for an M1 Garand, and this ammo and this rifle's been in use since World War II. Been around all this time. Semi-automatic 30-06. So what kind of power is 30-06 generating versus 5.56?
Well, like we said, 5.56 talking around 1,200 foot-pounds of energy at the muzzle. 30-06, you got a heavier pill, 150 grain in this black tip, and typically moving around 3,000 feet per second mark. It's 3,000 foot-pounds of energy.
Right.
And that energy is carried a lot further down range.
Right. So you got 30-06, and I like 30-06, so 30-06 has its uses just like 5.56 does. When people take a 5.56 rifle out, they might go hunt coyotes, okay, groundhogs and things like that, small game, foxes, bobcats, whatever, that sort of thing. Maybe a shot on a deer with a good precise shot, but 5.56, fills a certain niche just like 30-06 does. Now 30-06, due to its case capacity and its wide variety of different bullet weights that you can stabilize out of a standard 30-06 barrel, such as this beautiful Model 66 Mauser here.
Mauser.
Okay. It is a chameleon of a cartridge for sportsmen to be able to do a lot of different things with. Now, is 30-06 in use in like defensive situations? Absolutely. There's still guys that have an M1 Garand loaded in the corner, and if you come in their house, you're getting 8 rounds of 30-06, okay? It's still a viable solution. It's still a viable military rifle. You could field the M1 Garand today, and it would, with proper training and good riflemen and good marksmanship skills, you could win. Okay? And to compare, here's a 220 grain 30-06. Now, we probably didn't get the data on this one.
No, but it's around the same. I mean, you're talking...
Right.
No, depending on barrel lengths and whatever weight cartridge or weight projectile you have in a given cartridge, usually the range of energy is going to be about the same. So if you go with a 150 grainer, you're talking 3,000 foot-pounds of energy. If you go with a 220 grainer, you're not being able to push it as fast, but since the bullet has more mass, it physically has more energy at that same velocity. So you're still going to run around the 2,900 to 3,000 foot-pounds range.
Yeah, there's no such thing as a free lunch in physics.
It's all kind of a trade-off, you know?
It's always a trade-off. So I can push something light really fast and get power, or I can push something really heavy a little slower, but still get some train-wrecking energy. So speaking of that, if we're talking, all right, 30-06, that's a military round. What's another popular military round that is in wide use in today's world? Like, lots of hunters use it, sportsmen, even in some circles, defensive situations, people might prefer this cartridge. Let's look at the 4570. All right, so what kind of energy are we talking there?
All right, so 4570, anywhere between about a 250 grain projectile up to a 405. Now, we're talking modern 45 pressures, not trapdoor energy. Okay, we're talking like modern lever actions, modern breech loading actions that are very, very strong. We're talking anywhere around the 2,800 foot-pound mark. Okay, or I'm sorry, 2,000 foot-pound mark with about 2,800 feet per second velocity. Okay, yeah,
that's a lot of energy. I mean, buffalo hunters used the old trapdoors back in the day. They're capable of taking large game. And again, the point I'm making is it is a military cartridge that has found its way into civilian use and continues to be used in civilian use to this day. Back after World War II, veterans were returning from the war. They were exposed to 30-06s around. What did they do? They went and bought hunting rifles chambered in what? 30-06, right? 30-06 was a popular hunting round because many vets had used that cartridge in the war and come to appreciate its performance, knew how to handle it, were used to the recoil. 5.56 is no different. Veterans are coming back from these wars. They were, experienced, using AR-15s over in warfare or whatever, and then wind up, what are you going to do? You're going to buy an AR because you want a rifle that was similar to what you used in the service, or maybe you want a gun chambered in that for the nostalgia reason, but that's not the point. The point is that all of these military cartridges transcend military use and find their way into the civilian world, and it's a completely normal thing. It's been a normal thing since the 1860s, okay? Nothing has changed. But they want to skewer the facts. Yet again, they only want to go after the AR because they feel like it's this scary thing. But what? Nobody talks about trapdoors and Garands and muzzle loaders and all these things that generate some pretty respectable power, right?
Yeah, so I had my notes were incorrect. I'm sorry. 2,800 foot-pounds of energy out of the 4570 between all those projectile weights.
Right. So you're talking very similar to the 30-06. But again, because there's no free lunch in physics, what you get is more downrange power. Well, not power, but you get a flatter trajectory out of the ball round in a 30-06 than you would get out of the heavier pill in the 4570. So it's a trade-off. All of this cartridge development came from, okay, we want to go from big and slow to smaller bore and faster, but still generate the same energies and get flatter trajectories, better downrange accuracy, and a much smaller distance window of error that a soldier in combat, and let's just say from a military perspective, could make a shot on something and have a much shorter window for that projectile to hit the intended target within a given trajectory setting on the rifle.
Point blank range, or point blank zero.
Yeah, point blank zero is much more effective out to a wider variety of ranges when you have a flatter shooting cartridge.
That's another video all in itself right there.
Yes, it is.
So if you're talking about if you're talking about comparing apples to apples as far as a rifle and a handgun, okay, they would have done better to compare 5.56 to 44 Magnum.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's talk about that.
Really hot 44 mag. Okay. If you want to talk about comparable energy, all right. 44 mag. If you got a hot rodded cartridge, kind of like this Underwood here, this is a 305 grain lead solid, and it moves around 1,300 feet per second, and it generates about 1,100 foot-pounds of energy.
Yeah.
So we're talking about right there in the same range as what the rifle is capable of.
So there are handguns that will generate the energy that they're saying the AR will generate.
So when you're talking about handgun energy in itself, revolvers, obviously, more powerful cartridges, yes, they're going to generate a lot more muzzle energy, okay? But you're talking about like a semi-auto handgun, 10 millimeter is about kind of the king of the hill. I mean, but you're talking about 357 Magnum energy out of an auto-loading handgun. And 10 millimeter is a very, very powerful cartridge, especially when you push it out of a rifle. That sucker can get some good velocity and get on up there around the 800 to 900 foot-pound mark in some cases, given the load and specific bullet weights. But it's just, I just hate what the media does all the time, just the scare tactics. And that's what really just ticks me off and kind of drove us to make this video here. But, I mean, you know, even like, what did we say this Snyder was running? This thing was running, what, 1,200 feet per second or so? And this is a 500 grain projectile?
Yeah, it's like, that's like a 570 grain projectile moving about 1,200. So he's gonna do the quick calculation.
So I always go to Beartooth Bullets. They have an energy calculator on there that's just awesome. All right, so 1,200. Oh, yeah. Let's see. How many grains?
570.
570.
Moving at 1,200. I'm going to guess about 800, 900 foot-pounds.
Let's see. If it's moving that fast...
I was way off! Oh, crap.
Yeah, if it's moving that fast, we're talking like 1,800 foot-pounds of energy out of an old black powder cartridge.
Boy, I don't know if it's quite that much.
Let's see. Let's just take it down.
Even if it's not, say 900 feet per second.
I'm thinking it was right around 1,000 when we chronoed it before. So that's still... All right, so 1,200, 1,200, and about 1,200.
Yeah, and this is a cartridge that goes in a rifles made well over 100 years ago.
Yeah. But it just kills me, yeah. But when you go up on the spectrum and you're talking about really powerful cartridges like the 338 Lapua Magnum, okay, you're pushing 250 grain projectiles, about 2950. All right, and you're talking like 40. How much was it? 4,800 foot-pounds of energy.
That's some power.
Okay, you can move up to 50 BMG. You're talking a 750 grain pill moving about 2,600 feet per second.
And guys, look, these are in common use.
Yep.
Lots of people own 50 BMG rifles.
Oh, absolutely.
It's a totally common thing. They're out there.
50 Cal Shooters Association, all the different matches that they do at various long-range facilities, but you're talking 12,000 foot-pounds of energy, roughly.
This is one of the most powerful cartridges that is in common civilian use in a wide variety of different platforms. I mean, I have a Barrett M107. I love it. It's an absolute jackhammer of a rifle. Really fun to shoot. It is such a cool rifle. And I think that people tend to kind of skewer the facts, comparing rifles to rifles in terms of energy, and then comparing pistols to energy, and then comparing, you know, the more powerful pistol offerings to the comparison they want to make against the AR-15 is a little bit more fair of a comparison. There are handguns that generate the same energy of an AR-15. So to say, oh, the AR-15 is so deadly just because, oh, it's so much more deadlier than the 9mm. Well, no, Sherlock, right? I mean, of course it's going to be like that. That's like saying, oh, well, a 22 long rifle, okay, which is, you know, rimfire rifle is not going to generate a ton of energy compared to, you know, something in the centerfire category. But that's like saying, oh, well, we're going to compare the power of a 22 long rifle to the power of a 5.56. Well, of course 5.56 is going to have a lot more power because it's got a lot more powder behind it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
right.
You know.
So look, there was something that I found here. Just comparing energy. Okay, now this is in joules, so I'm not sure what the comparison is here, but let's see. It shows a 22 long rifle here at 168 joules of energy, and 22 long rifles usually 1,000 feet per second with a 40 grain projectile. To a baseball, 100 mile an hour pitch has about the same energy as a 22. You know, and recently there was a bunch of accidents at ball fields I was reading about foul balls, getting driven back past the netting and just injuring people. One little girl got hit in the head. And
did it kill her?
No, she's off pretty bad though. But last time I checked, but stuff like that happens. It's just anything can hurt you, and anyone can choose to do whatever they choose to do. Okay, they can either choose to be a law-abiding person or they can choose to be a criminal. The more gun laws are on the books, and the more comparisons that get put out there by the mainstream media trying to demonize commonly owned and commonly used rifles and handguns that law-abiding people use, and that's not going to change. They're just doing a disservice to society as a whole. They're trying to fit everything into their own agenda. They want ultimate just disarmament of everyone in America, and I think that's really the big point of this video. We wanted to compare these different cartridges and put some facts out there for you guys, but mainly just to dispel some of the ignorance that comes out there from the media. I mean, that's really the end goal, is just complete disarmament. They all just, that's what they want, complete power. Anti-gunners just want complete power over everybody, and while you as a common citizen can own anything that you really need, okay, that you deem necessary for your day-to-day life, that you deem necessary to defend your home, your family, your community, your country even, if it ever came down to that, it is your God-given right to do that. And it's not anyone in the media's it's not anyone's right in the media to tell you, oh, well, this AR is more powerful than this 9mm handgun, so, obviously, these need to be out of civilian hands because, they're way too powerful. Oh my God.
Well, the sad thing about it is that it's also willful ignorance.
Oh, good.
It's a willful, it's them choosing to put out this bad information that they know is going to try to steer their opinion.
Of course. It's an agenda.
So, another metric that we didn't consider, not to get, well, I guess we were kind of getting back on topic a tiny amount. Another important metric that we're not going to really discuss in a lot of detail in this particular video, but it's something to consider, is barrel length. Okay, now here I've got a full-length M&P Performance Center, M&P 9 here. This is a great gun, by the way. This is a really cool pistol, but this is considered a full-length 9mm. It's like a 5.5-inch barrel. A 9mm traveling out of a 2-inch barrel is going to have different performance than a 9mm traveling out of a longer barrel. A 9mm traveling out of a 16-inch barrel might have some varying performance differences than traveling out of the shorter barrel. And sometimes it's not always, hey, just because it's a longer barrel, you're going to get the most velocity. Sometimes it's a trade-off. And as that powder burns, like especially in 45 ACPs, we've seen that in the longer barrels they actually hinder velocity, and that you get better velocity out of the shorter length barrels.
Yep, it's all about efficiency of the cartridge itself, the powder. I mean, you can go down a complete rabbit hole with all that.
We could go down a rabbit hole, but the important metric to consider is barrel length is the key, right? And with ARs especially, barrel length is a very important contributing factor to the performance of the cartridge that's leaving the barrel. And without going down the rabbit hole, we don't want to get too far down this subject, but barrel length is an important metric in the AR. I mean, you get the maximum performance out of your 18 and 20-inch barrels, and these days those aren't really quite as common a use anymore as they used to be. Most barrel lengths now are in a 14.5 to 16-inch configuration, 16.5-inch in that ballpark. And I guess the point I'm making is always question. If you're having information given to you, question it. Even from us. If you don't believe what we're saying, research it for yourself. Always do your own research. Never just take the spoon-fed version of what someone's trying to give you about something. I think it promotes a healthy mental faculty for you as a person, makes you a stronger person, more mentally capable, more capable of facing a challenge in your life. You should always question everything. Always look for answers, always research, always get that data in, because the data will always set you free. The truth sets you free, and facts don't care about our feelings. The media tries to make this whole comparison thing, it's about apples and oranges, and it's about all of this, and you should be anti-gun because we tell you to be. But are you really anti-gun? I mean, that's the thing. Everybody makes this entire thing to be, the right says, oh, it's only these liberal pansies that want to say, oh, you should be anti-gun. And then the people on the left go, oh, these right-wing, you know what, all they want to do is hurt everybody and disarm the left and disarm the liberals. But then you got these other people that, they might be left-leaning in some of their views, but they're gun owners, right? I mean, and then you got these guys on the right that, yeah, they might have some varying opinions politically from you, but they're gun owners too. How hard is it for us to just all get on the same page and go, look, I think it's safe to say if you're a gun owner and you like guns, we're on your side. We're with you, okay? Now, we may not agree on every little political thing in life, but is that to say that a family member visits you at a family reunion and sits down to have dinner with you, and they look at you and they say, the fact that you hate guns, I disagree with that. Or, you like guns, I disagree with that. Does that still not make them your family member? It doesn't mean you can't sit at the same table and discuss, well, this is why I like guns. Maybe you should consider liking guns too. And that's how the change occurs. Then your in-laws go, you know what? I never thought about it like that, but, maybe I'll give it a chance.
Maybe some people's in-laws.
Well, look, but the point is, though, the division that's created by all of the media and what they try to do to gun owners in this country is a crying shame. I mean, we should be looking at each other as gun owners as one and the same. If you're a gun guy, you're my friend. I mean, and we may not agree on everything, but we can get past that. Once you find that common ground that you share with each other, then you can start thinking about the things that you can do to maybe try to change each other's mind. Have a logical debate the facts, present the facts, and then view it all and develop an opinion. But to apply some blanket statement to an entire group of people simply because, oh, well, I hate guns, so I want everybody else to hate guns, and if they don't, then they're a racist, they're a bigot, they're this, they're that, they're a liberal, they're a, whatever left, whatever right. That's the issue.
Well, one facet of the pro-gun world you have is the guys that shoot 30-06 and stuff all the time, and that's all they have is hunting guns. And they say, oh, well, I don't really care about ARs. We don't need those. You got gun owners saying that, oh, we don't need those things. You don't need that to hunt deer with. I mean, that's one of the biggest problems. Ignorance. That's one of the biggest problems in my personal opinion. But like Eric said, do your own research with things. If you see something that's questionable, be like, that doesn't quite sound right. Do a little bit of research. Find some reputable sources. Read about it. Pick up a book. Go to the library. Look at some reference material and say, they're not quite right on that. And it's like, well, then develop your own opinion about things. That's really the best thing to do in situations like we have nowadays with the spread of information so quickly.
Misinformation.
Well, spread of information and misinformation so quickly. It's a big issue because people will believe just about anything that's put in front of their face on their screen these days without doing anything, and they won't even think about it. They won't even, bat an eye.
I mean, don't get me wrong. It's important to have an open mind.
It is, but man,
always have the facts in hand too. It's a double-edged sword. I get it. I mean, I know a lot of people in this quick society that we've become, this rapid society that we've developed, the have it now society. I want something, all right, ordered on Amazon, it's here in 2 days, all right, back to my day. We're so busy in the hustle bustle of the world that we live in, it's really quick to have that instant gratification in our lives, right? And information's the same way. People are quick to go, okay, whatever news source A, who's the biggest guy on the hill, I'm going to get their opinion on this, and then that's my opinion. All right, I have to go back to work, I have to do my thing, I have to go back to being a person now. It's so quick to just take the opinion and go for it. And the problem is that the large mainstream media, unfortunately is controlled by people with a certain political agenda. And of course, they're going to try to skewer the facts to fit their political agenda and not give both sides of the equation. So I guess what I'm saying is, our whole thing with these videos, all we've ever asked for is a fair chance for people to hear us out and to understand where we're coming from as gun owners, and to understand that we don't hate the left, okay? We don't hate the right. We don't hate anybody in this country. We don't hate a certain group of people because they're who they are. They're a certain religion or a certain race or a certain belief system or a certain sexual preference or all of these things that the media commonly uses as a play on words to divide people. We don't play into that agenda. We're simply about the Second Amendment and our rights, and that's what's important to us. And as long as you respect the Second Amendment and you love being a gun owner and you like the idea of us all just getting along and being armed and having a polite and safe society, then we can be friends. We may not agree on everything, but that's the beauty of this country. It's a giant melting pot of different cultures. And it's cool for us all to be able to just kind of share this place and protect it together. I think that's the most important thing a lot of people tend to forget. Anyway, I'm not trying to ramble.
Oh, it's okay. I mean, I'll say one more thing and we'll close this thing out. But
sure.
One thing to consider too is that all these laws and all these gun laws and things and all this legislation that always comes down the pipeline to ban this, ban that. Oh, we need more laws. We need more gun control. We need these guns banned because oh, they were used in a crime. Oh, well, they got to get out of here because they're bad. They're dangerous because, this rifle is way more powerful than this pistol. Okay? It doesn't matter what laws get put on the books. Criminals are still gonna be criminals, and the only people that are disenfranchised are those who just want to live their lives and be law-abiding people to a certain extent until those laws really start crossing the line. But the thing is, the only people that are affected are the good people out there. And it doesn't matter if you're right, left, whatever. If you don't own any guns, you're still disenfranchised by new gun control coming down the line. Because guess what? Criminals are still going to be criminals. And then if you ever decided one day that, hey, you know what? I think I want to have a gun in my home to defend myself. Well, guess what? It's too late for you. You missed the party because you didn't support the Second Amendment to begin with. That's the big problem that I have with folks. But
look, if you're an anti and you're watching this video, you hate guns, right? Okay, fine. Everyone's entitled to an opinion. You're welcome to hate guns. That's totally fine. But look, what I would ask you to do, please, just for me, get a friend or somebody, if you have friends that are into guns, or go down to a range somewhere, rent a gun, or go out with an instructor and take a gun class. That's all I'm asking. Get with a good instructor and just go take a class on how to handle a gun, okay? And look at it with a truly open mind. Just try to have an open mind about it. And you'll see, this isn't bad at all. You're in control. Remember that. And I'm talking to antis out there. You pick up a gun, you are in control of this. This is a mechanical device. It's not going to do anything that you don't want it to do. Okay? You are in control of this device. Okay? It is to protect you. It is a tool of liberty. Okay? Tools are only going to do the job that the person using it wants it to do.
If you have bad intentions in your heart, then whatever you decide to use as your tool of choice, guess what? It only reflects on you. I mean,
agreed.
So,
all I'm saying is try to have an open mind. Meet us in the middle at least. I understand that a lot of gun channels and a lot of personalities on social media, they cater to their base. And don't get me wrong, yeah, a lot of folks that watch our channel obviously are pro-gun because we're a huge gun channel. I get that. It's cool, whatever. And we love making content that makes people happy in our community. But we also feel it's important to reach out to some of those other people that might have differing opinions, because that's the only way that we're going to win this situation together to protect each other. Okay? When a guy sets out of his door every morning with a gun on his hip, it's not to hurt you. It's not to, he doesn't have a chip on his shoulder thinking, oh, well, I just hope some lefty does something so I can gun him down. That's what the media wants you to think, but that's not the case. Do you think for 1 second that if something bad happens, that person that's carrying that gun is going to stop and ask you a political questionnaire before he decides to protect you? No, he's just going to protect you. Okay, the Second Amendment applies to everyone, and 99.9% of all the people that are armed on a regular basis in the world at large, maybe not the world, but the United States, here in our country at large, they want nothing more to them to protect the people around them. Doesn't matter who they are. It's just, it's a mindset that you have to have, that we're here for each other. So I think it's important for the antis to remember that when you want gun control, you're actually disarming the people that are willing to potentially die for you. It's a pretty serious thing to consider.
And
the most passive thing, you're trying to be passive by not owning a gun, but then you want to stop the people that are being proactive?
Yep.
When they could help you?
I'd say too, remember that even when you're out in public, if you're a staunch anti-gunner, depending on where you live, there's likely a lot of people that you don't even have a clue about who are carrying around you. And you won't ever know unless there's some situation that arises that requires the use of force. And you can just live in your little bubble and think, oh, well, I'm all safe because the police are just a minute away, blah, blah. No, sorry. It doesn't work that way. But I'd say everything's been said that needs to be said. I mean, some food for thought for you guys.
Think about it, guys. That's all we're saying. And look, for the people that are on our side and understand where we're coming from, it's cool. Look, we're all on the same page here, and I hope that you can take what we present in this video as just a fair comparison. We always want to present the facts in the way that we feel is the most truthful and honest. All you'll ever get out of us is 110% integrity. Our word is our bond. Like, we care strongly about what people think about what we say, and to us, the truth is so important, and it's important for people to know where we stand on certain things. But anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching today's video. Definitely want to thank all of our Patreon supporters. You guys are awesome. Thank you. All the folks who purchase man cans, shirts, merchandise over on the website. All of those funds go directly back into supporting our channel and supporting content like this and allowing us to, keep it coming for you guys. So thank you so much for believing in what we do. And we hope that, maybe we opened up some eyes in this video. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time. Much more content on the way. Take care.
Alrighty. Let's see. Okay, let me kind of scroll up real quick and take a peek. Okay, let me go ahead and do this one. This is Appalachian Americans Preparedness, and the video is titled The Acorn, A True Blessing from the Creator. Sounded interesting.
All right, want to talk to you for a few minutes here on this Sunday morning. I am in the van, and it is a beautiful morning. It is, I don't know what time it is. It's before 9 o'clock, and it's a beautiful morning. And man, I was so thankful to be able to open these eyes one more time. What a blessing to be able to open these eyes one more time and to breathe the air one more day. And I was so thankful for it. So thankful for it. And oh, what a blessing. Now that is a true blessing. And speaking of blessings, I made a video last night on the acorn, one way to process the acorn. And actually, let me tell you this real quick. I don't want to get off track, but actually after the video, I ate that acorn stuff mush. It wasn't really mush. It was still kernels. But I ate that, nibbled on that all night last night, off and on. Trying it different ways, and it was very good. Tried it with cumin and olive oil and some herbs, salt and garlic and stuff like that. It was really good. And then I tried it with honey and cinnamon, and it was pretty good. It wasn't excellent, but it was good. Anyway, thought I'd throw that in there. Anyway, the acorn last night, as I was gathering the acorns up, I thought, what a blessing. I thought, man, what a blessing. A food that can come straight from the Creator. I had nothing to do with growing it. It just fell out of the tree. And that's a true blessing. I thought about those Native Americans and how that when they walked up under a oak tree and stepped on those acorns, how they probably stopped and thought, oh, a blessing from the Creator, and picked it all up. A true blessing. Food that you don't even have to mess with as far as cultivating and growing and tilling the ground. It just falls out of the sky. Anyway, falls out of the tree, and you pick it up. It takes a little bit of processing, and bam, you have food. That's a true blessing. A true blessing. I know a lot of people talk about blessings. Blessed me with a new computer, and
petrodollar. Think about that one. You've been blessed with the petrodollar. The acorn is actually a true blessing from the Creator. And I know people may not like me saying all that, but it's just true. Anyway, hey, if we could learn the ways of the Native Americans, think about what I'm saying here. If we could learn the ways of the Native Americans who knew this land better than anybody, if we could learn their ways, like truly get it up here and then practice it, teach our family, our children, and our grandchildren, if we could do that, then we wouldn't even be concerned with this system, this man-made system. We would not even be concerned with it collapsing. No, we would not. I know there's some people out there that say, oh, if we have another Great Depression, everything will be completely wiped out, and that's just not true. If you know wild edibles, then you know that's not true. Hard to survive just on wild edibles, but it can be done. Anyway, if we could learn the ways of the Native Americans, I'll say it again, then if this system, this man-made system collapses, then we will just move right on. We will go right on. And it is important that we think that way. It's important that we think that way and strive for stuff like that. We live in a very fragile system, and we need to have a backup. And it is how the Native Americans lived is actually the intent of the Creator for us to live. That was how He wanted us to live. Of course, we have veered off of the path, and we have made a system, built a system that is anti-nature and anti-Creator, and we have let go of His system, and we call it a blessing. And when we gain and consume, we gain material possessions, and we consume, we call it a blessing. And you need to think about that for a little while. A true blessing is you being able to go out and pick up acorns and process them into food. I am sorry, I know people don't like that sort of thing, but that is just how it is. That is a true blessing from the Creator. Yes, sir. He didn't create the system that you're living in. You created it. We created it. Huh? This isn't natural. This thing I'm driving, I'm going 70 miles an hour right now. That's not natural. That wasn't the intent of the Creator. I'm going 70 miles an hour right now in this thing that was made from pulling the resources out of the earth. And we made this thing, and here I'm going super fast down this road and could die very, very easily. And not only me, but the others around me. I'm on the freeway. So anyway, that's not a blessing. That's not. I would not call that a blessing. No. Anyway, the acorn is a blessing. Anyway, just thought I'd talk to you for a couple of minutes. Don't mean to ruffle any feathers. This is just how I see it, and you might see it a different way, and I respect that. But hey, learn the ways of the Native Americans. It will ensure that your children and your grandchildren, your offspring, live. Yes, it will. Anyway, check that video out on them acorns if you haven't already. I'm not no acorn expert, but it was actually the first time I had done it, and I was impressed with it all. Just impressed with it all. And you can make some good food out of acorns, and acorns processed properly, if they're processed right, they will store for a long time. And it's free food. Hey, I know times are good not right now. They're good. And they might be good for another 4 or 5 years. They sure might. And they might tweak the economy and keep kicking the can down the road, or they might change the whole structure of the economy, and we may never have another recession again. I mean, that's what they would have to do, is change the whole structure of it. But we may have some more good times ahead. It may stretch on out for a while. We should go through a recession right by 2020, and if we don't, that means that they just kick the can down the road, or they have changed things. So anyway, hey, strike while the iron's hot. Hey, get out there and learn while you can. Don't wait until it's too late. Don't wait until things are bad. And then get out there and try to learn how to do this and that. Do it now while times are good. Hey, we may have another decent 4 or 5 years ahead of us, but we may not. So strike while the iron's hot, get while the getting's good, and keep on walking and working towards that self-reliant, self-sufficient lifestyle. Hey, it is fall. Learn those wild edibles. Learn those fall wild edibles. Hey, it's fall. All the nutrition falls down to the roots. Anyway, get out there and get something done. We'll see you.
Alrighty. Sorry, I was typing and I was trying to finish my thought. Not often I have one. Let's see. Oh, is it bedtime yet? Totally should be bedtime. Okay, Suspicious Observers has one here titled Earth Disaster. I'm not even going to try to say that word / name / whatever it is. But then it says / gravity model part 2.
Hey folks, as so often happens, one examination of a subject allows the collective of observers to demonstrate their force. Within just minutes of yesterday's video, which is now a part 1 to this part 2, another video was sent to me describing something I totally forgot to include in yesterday's video, but which complements it nicely, and luckily, I can still post videos here a day later, so problemus solvicus in progress. Now, to properly place this oversight of mine into context, let's quickly drive through the major points yesterday, then show what I forgot, and then frame the bigger picture in light of the evidence. The Janibekov effect does not really resemble the tennis racket theorem, intermediate axis theorem, and in either case is not what we believe to be the trigger of the crustal disruption. But we also took the time to do the mental exercise anyway of applying it there, and showed why even though Earth's bulge makes Earth non-spherical, and even though our orbital distance from the Sun changes by the year, there are even greater stress variations on the planet, like our heliographic latitude track, which goes 7 degrees south and 7 degrees north of the solar equator. As equinox and solstice and these heliographic moments come and go, the stress of our orbital motion and rotation relative to the Sun and Moon are constantly changing even now, making for slight dings in different directions all year against different magmatic and oceanic conditions. And over longer periods, the variations are even more dramatic: obliquity, eccentricity, axial and apsidal precession, and we even went deep into the large-scale subterranean structure that really disallows the fluid-filled sphere concept from applying to a geodynamic analysis. Now this is where our theory meets the Janibekov effect and intermediate axis concepts, showing where they may indeed be applicable to an Earth flip scenario. We will come back to our major points and our hypothesis at the end, but first, as I mentioned, the reason for this video is that I forgot something. A video posted 2 years ago by Sean here is epic. I hope he will be cool with us sharing his work, and I also encourage you to click the link below the video, like his video, and thank him in advance for allowing its use. He used a very popular, well-vetted, and in fact professionally produced physics model program made for the purpose of the public. He put Jennebekoff physics into an Earth model but used the gravity models instead of the spherical model. The gravity of Earth does not exactly follow the sea level or the mountains, and it includes ice and other aspects of the very non-homogeneous Earth. And while the gravity amplitude and time are both exaggerated in this model for the purposes of making a short explanatory video that has effects you can easily see, the physics does say that when you don't oversimplify the Earth into a liquid-filled sphere, you get the flip and stability periods between. Now remember, this model uses just the gravity model of Earth, doesn't take into account the orbital or other dynamics we mentioned earlier, or the internal structure of the Earth disrupting the model from that perspective, although I do suspect that those large structures beneath our feet indeed are part of the gravitational variability of the planet. Again, this video was made 2 years ago. Let's show him some much overdue love and recognize that this just puts one more inch of doubt into the mind at ease message from Veritasium. Now back to the bigger picture, and because we add this to the other mechanistic actors we discussed, the major solar blast taking on the mantle, and perhaps even the core. One of the likely reasons that geomagnetic storms can produce the rotation glitches of Earth is their touching of the low velocity zone already, which is highly likely with the bigger blasts like the Carrington event, and certainly the biggest ones of all. With solar storms and core geomagnetic jerks being the only two known disruptors of rotation for those length of day glitches, what happens when you get them both together and at great magnitude? Mantle viscosity and thermoelectric disruptions unlock the crust at the low velocity zone. The mantle heaves. The large structure could break down. The plates collide. They endure vertical motion changes, and on the larger scales, the ice and mountain weight redistributions will pull heavier regions towards the equator for that final rearrangement. So again, that scenario does not require the Jennebekoff effect. But today, we showed one more reason why you can't take it off the list of potential actors. In my opinion, the jigsaw crustal rearrangement seems more viable and less likely to kill the entire planet compared to the Earth literally flipping over. But like I said, there's too much evidence from all sides and inside and now models to write it off entirely. Eyes open, no fear. Be safe, everyone.
Alrighty. Let's see. A lot of crazy stuff still going on in California with the, speaking of the fires and whatnot. Okay, got another one here from the Prepared Mind titled, None Dare Speak the Words of SHTF.
Welcome back. It's the Prepared Mind channel on the Prepared Mind Network. And it's us prepared minds, they're looking at all kinds of stuff. Now, I always, as a young man, as a middle-aged man, I still enjoy the concept of theories that involve a concept of people conspiring. Conspiring to do things which would be underhanded, sneaky, immoral, and even illegal, right? We try and talk about conspiracy theory and say, what is going on? Well, it's no longer a conspiracy. And it is also extremely dangerous as we head into this SHTF environment. Because if the powers that take control are the wrong ones, you can bet that what I'm going to talk about is going to be aimed at you, aimed at me, aimed at all of us. So I want to start with an article. It was originally published via the Hereticus Economicus.com, But it has since disappeared. Can't find it. Can't find it. But I found it on Zero Hedge. And Steven Crowder of Louder with Crowder fame on YouTube demonstrated how YouTube is suppressing information. Now, this is fascinating how he did it. It had to do with a Democrat, Tulsi Gabbard, presidential candidate for the Democrat Party. Certainly, if I had to pick a Democrat that we had to live under, I would choose her as president, but I don't want any of them, you know. But still, she's a risk or a threat because she doesn't seem to fall into the normal mold of sellout ding-dong. But what's important is that by going through other countries, Crowder was able to demonstrate that when he typed in Tulsi Gabbard, he would get her videos, information about her, news stories about her, different countries. And then when he went through YouTube USA, she disappeared. It's an interesting article. I recommend reading it, but it just lets you know how you can be wiped clean, right? They can make things up and they can wipe you away. And speaking of making things up, we have this great story came out as this impeachment is heating up. It seems maybe that the impeachment is done to try and impugn the Trump administration before the Justice Department has a chance to put the coals to the bad guys. And what do I mean by that? You may remember General Michael Flynn, who was arrested, sent to jail, pleaded guilty to lying or perjury, and it cost him basically everything he had. Now I don't know Michael Flynn from Adam, but I do know that he was a general. But what has come out is it looks like the FBI entrapped him with manipulated evidence. Now, I'm pretty sure that when it comes to something like evidence that's supposed to be admitted under a signed affidavit, right? Your level of authority. Investigator, district attorney, a prosecutor, whatever it is, you can't lie about something or do something, change things. That's a type of perjury. It is fabricated evidence, right? So it's coming out. It's just, I mean, using the word manipulation is too light as far as I'm concerned. They got this guy into a situation, changed some stuff around, told him he lied, told him they'd throw the book at him unless he admitted to being guilty. And what an incredible thing. I mean, they destroyed the man's life. That's bad enough. But who did this and how they did this is very important. Brennan of the CIA is involved. Clapper of as the director of the NSA, right? National Intelligence Agency, NIA. There's so many of these alphabet law enforcement agencies, I don't even know what they all do anymore. I mean, I should know, but it's ridiculous. What did they do? But they altered a form. And who was involved in this? None other than Peter Strzok and Lisa Page, his main love interest apart from his wife. Now, I don't have a problem with any of the normal stuff that he's done as an agent that's above board, but if he did this to Michael Flynn in an effort to make the Trump administration look bad, to try and tie together a bunch of loose ends that were all lies and all fabricated horseshit in order to try and pressure the president into resigning before he's even taken office. Just 2 years ago, 3 years ago now. They were doing this, and they're still on the loose. They're still on the street. Do you think you're going to get any justice if Trump loses this election? What do you think they're going to do? If they're willing to do this to President Trump, if they're willing to do this, right, to General Flynn, if they're willing to do this, run people out of restaurants, if they're willing to frame everybody, if they're willing to let off their own people for all the crimes they've committed, right, Eric Holder, turning loose illegal firearms that are going to be taken into Mexico and were turned around and used to kill American agents, as well as who knows how many Mexicans? Have a nice retirement, right? Just leave him alone. But go after Michael Flynn, and they can't even get him on a simple, he tripped up, he made a mistake, got his words confused, some memories backwards. No, they had to go and lie. And I've talked about it in the past. They can put stuff on your computer. They can lie about us. They can make shit up. They can get witnesses to come forward and make up lies about us. This type of stuff is going to get out of hand. There is already a huge shadow of doubt cast over all of the United States of America over whether or not we can trust law enforcement, prosecutors, and judges, as well as the competency of the average jurist who understands anything about the law, much less the facts of a case. They can frame anybody. If they can frame Michael Flynn, he didn't do anything wrong and he went to jail. He didn't do anything wrong and he lost all of his wealth in an effort to defend himself. He didn't do anything wrong, except he had a political thought. And it differed from the people who have the real power. And who is the real power? Well, it must be this Brennan guy, must be this Clapper guy, must be James Comey of the FBI guy, must be the Attorney General, must be the Inspector General. We've got all of these titles of people who do everything, and they can do anything. And who can stop them? If General Flynn and his attorneys have taken 3 years, essentially, to get to the point where they're going back to court trying to get himself exonerated of these crimes, he's having to sue them to show that they lied. Can you and I withstand that kind of power? No, they'll just arrest you and shoot you, right? They couldn't just shoot Michael Flynn. I mean, who else did they show up and get? What was that one fella, the goofball guy? They showed up at his house with CNN cameras ready, a SWAT team to arrest. It was what, not Roger Ailes, but big shots, big shot Republican donors, Republican generals. Look what they're doing in the states. They're passing ridiculous laws. Congressmen and governors are threatening their people with gun confiscation. It is a sign of the times. This is why I say, can you afford to just turn your firearms over if they say, well, you've got 5 and 2 of them are illegal. We'll take the 2 that we don't like. You can keep the other 3, but, we don't like those 2. They're illegal. Turn them. Can you afford to turn anything in? Can you afford to turn in a bump stock? Can you afford to turn in a pistol magazine that holds, oh, heaven forbid, 16 rounds or 18 rounds or 22 rounds? Can you afford to take that chance when, as far as we know, next week or next month, you may need that. You may need it to defend yourself against rioters and looters, political assassins, or your own government. We don't know. You don't know. I mean, they can find whoever you are. The bad guys know where I'm at. Right? They know my name. They know my area. They know my location. They know you. They know all of us. Some of them are put on the internet, but you can bet your ass that locally, the bad guys know where you are. Bad guys meaning people who are political hacks. The people that went after Michael Flynn, yeah, they had badges. FBI, Director of National Intelligence, CIA, Attorney General's office. They have badges and guns. And the presumption of authority, it's called the color of law. And look what they did to a general, a retired, respected general. For doing what? He wasn't even in office long enough to do anything. He didn't push any legislation. He didn't push any foreign policy to speak of. What, he met with Russian ambassadors or Russian envoys? Who cares? Right? In light of what Joe Biden and others have done, shaking them down for millions of dollars and firing their own people in other countries, he's just trying to talk. He's just trying to go to work. Start making the connections as whatever job it was he was going to do. And they did that to him. Imagine what's going to happen to us when these people get power back. Hillary Clinton called half the nation, all of us, deplorables. We are expendable. We are non-useful, right? We are to them a threat. That is why you got to be prepared with food, water, shelter, clothing, medicine, means of self-defense. You've got to have a plan and understand these people are deadly serious, right? They are having secret, illegitimate meetings, trying to gather information, anything they can, to use as an excuse to hold an impeachment hearing for the president as we lead up to the election. And you can bet your ass if they had anything, it would be on the news. If they had anything on President Trump, they would do what they did to General Flynn. Now out here in La La Land, they go, who cares about John? He's nobody. He's not Flynn. He's not Trump. What I'm talking about is what they're doing to the president to get power back. And when they get power back, what do you think they're going to do? Who was that one website? I think it got taken down or got shut down just from so many people going to see if their names were on the list. If you were a donor, a political donor to Trump, this company published your name and your vital information and put out a pin on the map showing where you live for making a donation. Because Trump is a white supremacist. Trump is a racist. Trump is a this and Trump is a that. He's a Russian pawn. It is incredible what these people are capable of. That wasn't the DNC that did that. That was a private organization that put that map out with names. They outed everybody. What's going to happen when they get the power and the resources and the authority in Washington that isn't going to put any pressure on them, no blowback on them? Put out every Republican voter. How about putting out your voting record? How about if they just start making stuff up about people they don't like? Whether it's criminal or whether it's just something that's embarrassing. Oh, she slept with that guy, right? To ruin people's names, to get them fired, to destroy their lives. They're willing to do this to the big dogs. It's not so that they can have power and be nice to us. No, if they wanted to be nice to us, they'd get out of our lives. Quit taxing us. Quit telling us what to do. Quit making us feel guilty because of our skin color or our ethnic heritage, right? But this is what they're willing to do. This is what they're capable of doing. And it's not going to get better because the Democrats are here and the Republicans are here, and the Democrats have gone so far left, right, that there's this chasm between. I got to tell you, the Republicans, it seems like in Congress, in the Senate, Senate and House, have been running as fast and as hard to the left as they can. Oh, it's okay. We don't mind gay marriage. Okay, fine. You're going to do that? Whatever. Oh, we don't want to get rid of Social Security. What do you mean? Right? Oh, Obamacare, let's leave it in place. What? All of the things that you thought conservative, strict constructionist, traditionalist Republicans were for, they're running to the left, and still the left has outrun them so fast you can't even have a conversation. And now we have college professors saying the English language is a tool of white supremacy used to hold everyone else down, used to hurt others. So now we can't even count on our language. I mean, what the hell? Where did they come up with that? Well, it suits their agenda. You see, they can turn anything you say or I say into a crime. They can turn anything you do, anything you write. Well, they're going back and looking at people's tweets, emails from years ago. They're trying to dig all of this stuff. So they've got something on everybody. John, you need to shut up because we've got this dirt on you. What? Right? Whether it's true or not, how did you get that? Whether it's true or not, why are you doing this to me? Whether it's true or not, how can anyone else trust you guys except everyone's afraid now? Everyone is so fearful that if one person in a crowd, someone points him out and goes, He's a sexual predator, right? The Me Too movement. Everyone moves away from that guy like he's got cooties. An unsubstantiated, lack of evidence, blind, out of nowhere accusation against anybody is now accepted as fact, and the person has to prove that they're innocent. You are now guilty before proven innocent when it comes to the public square. And even still, after you've proven yourself to be innocent of what you're accused of, guess what? You have the stigma of being accused by the perpetual victim group in the left. And that victim group has dozens of little subgroups in it. So yeah, it matters on this level, but up at that level, up at the Trump level, the Flynn level, look what they're doing. Look what they're willing to do. Look what they've done in the past. They have assassinated political leaders. They have assassinated prominent people in public. The mainstream media, they've lost credibility. They're losing their subscribers. They're losing their funding. In fact, I guess last week, Trump, he said, that's it. No more New York Times, Washington Post subscriptions for the government. I'm not going to waste money because it's all fake, and we're going to save the taxpayers. I thought that was a clever move. But that mainstream media is out there to carry the water of the political agenda, the social engineering agenda of the left. Oh, John, you're so crazy. You and your conspiracy theories, really? Like the little 7-year-old boy in Texas whose mom has convinced him that he needs to have gender swap medication? The dad lost in court so he can't defend his son and protect him? How can a 7-year-old who's not allowed to do anything, they're a minor, they're considered not an adult, right? They're legally incompetent. How can a 7-year-old know what's best for him? Changing his gender? And there are people coming out now going, I shouldn't have done it. I know someone in the medical field has told me, as part of his job in recovery, that people come out of gender change operations and he helps them in the recovery phase, waking up, coming off the medication. They said, did I do the right thing? And they're asking him, a nurse, if they did the right thing. They don't even know if they've done the right thing. People are regretting this left and right. They're regretting the damage it does to their body, putting in hormones that your body wasn't designed to have. Whether you identify in your head with a particular gender has nothing to do with what your chromosomes say. You're going to fuck yourself up. They're screwing themselves up across the board in this system. And there's going to be hell to pay for it, if you've heard that expression. There is a giant conspiracy to screw with us socially, culturally, all our traditions and our laws. They're doing it with politics. And everything they're doing down on these levels I just mentioned, it's lies. And look what they're doing up on the big level with General Flynn. It's more lies. And it's the same players we've heard about for years. Yet they're on the loose. They're able to get around. Now, there was good news. And I'm not a big person who lays on the pipe of hopium and just gets stoned to death, hoping everything's going to be good. Remember 2 years ago, Q? Oh yeah, we're going to do this. We're going to declass and we're going to start arresting next week. Yada, yada, yada. A bunch of bullshit. They still haven't done crap. But last week, they've decided that they're going to move from an investigation into a criminal investigation for what's going on here over the Steele dossier. That makes it sound like it's something real. Not a dossier, it's a file. It's a file with papers in it from some jackass named Steele, who wasn't an American operative. He is a foreign intelligence agent. He's a foreign asset, if you want to sound like you're in a book. He's a foreign asset. He's a foreign agent. Why was our FBI taking something from a foreign agent and using it to try and prosecute, to go after people? Because it's not factual. Because this is all about fabricating. This is all about manufacturing, creating evidence to take care and eliminate their political enemies. I literally used to feel safe in this country. I thought shit's going to hit the fan. It's going to be a terror attack. It's going to be a breakdown of this, some social disorder. I didn't think the government was going to go whole hog, just right barreling down our throat with all of these lies. Conspiracy theory? Fuck. Blow that shit out of the water. This is beyond conspiracy fact. This is conspiracy in your face. No longer can they say this is a conspiracy theory and that's a conspiracy theory and you guys are full of shit. They can't do that anymore because there have been so many conspiracies that have been demonstrated to be just that. Government agencies participating in lies and fabrication and bullshit. The proof is there. The question is, can we do anything about it before shit hits the fan? Can you do anything about it before shit hits the fan? I don't know. I just don't know. I hope so. Flynn wants to get his own, good name back. He's forever tarred and marred. I want my country back. This is a scary place to live now because of what can be said about you to destroy you in any one or number of ways. What happened to Anthony Weiner's laptop that was full of evidence, including a dossier, a file, called insurance policy? What happened to Huma Abedin? What happened to Hillary herself and all of this crap over her servers and emails? Now she's continuing to threaten to run against Trump in the 2020 election. She is the most unlikable character. Even the Democrats and the Democrat Party, even they don't like her. But they'll vote for her over Trump because Orange Man is Satan to them. And these young people, their skulls are full of twisted mush. Absolute mush. Where's the jackbooted Trump thumps on the street just beating people up? If he was Hitler, wouldn't it have started by now? The guy's trying to do what? Get us out of wars? The guy's trying to do what? Keep the economy going? I don't agree with his methods, but he's not doing anything Hitler-esque. Right? In fact, the conditions in the so-called concentration camps on the border are in better shape and better condition for the people that are being held in them than they were under the Obama administration. This country's fucked. It is in bad shape. Right? When you see someone mangled after a car accident, you don't go, oh my God, everything's fine. No, you're like, holy shit, his leg is twisted around backwards, lacerated all to hell, right? All puffy and swollen. Except this didn't happen in a bam car wreck. This has been over time slowly, as if the country has been in a torture machine. It's getting twisted and jacked up and broken slowly. We're being tortured with how they're destroying our nation. It's your nation, not these people in Washington. They're supposed to be there just doing a job to make the country run better, not control us, not regulate us, not punish us. They're not supposed to be doing all that. No. In Washington, they're supposed to make the country run better. Instead, it's a torture device where they pass new laws and regulations and increase taxes and make us do things and turn our protections, our constitutional protections, into some sort of Frankenstein type law where, this particular group of people can say whatever they want. But if you say anything over here, you're a monster. If I say I have First Amendment protections, they look at me like I'm Hitler, like I'm Stalin, except Stalin's a good guy to them. They look at me like I'm some kind of monster that is using the First Amendment in some unethical and immoral way that shouldn't be allowed because the message I speak is so evil. The message I speak is freedom, liberty, right? Limited small government. What's so hateful about that? Hey, and I share a lot of things with the left. I believe big corporations need to be regulated and controlled as they were intentionally, or rather originally intended to operate. Not as mega, multifaceted, multi-tentacled international corporations that screw everyone over and don't obey the law. And if they do disobey and manage to get caught, they get a couple $1 million fine, and then they're allowed to go on and make their billions and trillions. It's incredible. This is the world we're in. But this particular section, the lies, the manipulation, the fabrication, the use of the press to destroy people, this can be done at any level. Federal, state, local. They can just make up whatever they want. And you've heard about it. Guy gets arrested by a cop. They come up with a bunch of evidence. The prosecutor doesn't care. They put the wrong guy in prison. They don't care. Or do they do it on purpose? They got a problem with Joe Blow. Well, let's put Joe Blow away and fabricate some evidence against him. Has Joe Blow got a high-powered attorney? Does Joe Blow stand a chance? Will the people go break Joe Blow out of jail and say, no, it wasn't him? No, because they're all afraid. They're afraid of being a bad citizen while they're being bad citizens and allowing this shit to go on. And I have to admit, I haven't broken anyone out of jail. But then again, I don't know anyone in jail that shouldn't be there. But I imagine if they're doing this to Flynn, it could start happening to us. And when that happens, when we start seeing political arrests in Washington, you need to understand that shit rolls downhill. And if these people, these crazy, wacky, Illuminati, world domination pricks, get Trump out of office, one way or the other, by hook or by crook, get him out, guess what they're going to do? They're going to tighten the fucking screws on us. I don't like it. I don't like it a bit. I don't like what these people can do because they feel like it. Because they don't like you. It's not the country I grew up in. It's not the country I dreamed that my sons would grow up in. And both of them, both my sons, are being exerted to an incredible social pressure to conform to this new think, this mental retardation that requires them to totally think in new ways. I hear it from young people all the time. They are made to feel horrible if they don't think the way they're told to think. It's incredible. And they're going to have to grow up into this world and then make a change, make a difference. And if we, me and you, actually are the ones that get this thing straightened out, we got to straighten our kids out and go tell all your friends to knock this shit off. Reach in your pants. If you got a vagina, you're a girl. If you got a penis, you're a boy. That's the end of that story. Now grab a shovel, go to work. It's crazy, right? Manipulated evidence. That's an understatement when it comes to Michael Flynn, right? They just, why don't they just put a bullet in his head? Well, they need to make Trump look bad. But trust me, bullets have been in people's heads a number of times. We just don't hear about it. People are disappeared all the time. We just don't hear about it. And as the press gets more and more owned, and as they squeeze the alternative media, which is me and you, as they squeeze us, right, we may disappear. So do all you can. Share these videos, like, subscribe, everything you can. It's coming. It is coming faster and faster all the time. This fight, it could go physical on the street. So get prepared. Chance favors the prepared. Mind is yours. Thank you again. Semper Fi. Godspeed.
Alrighty. Let me see here. Poking down through the list. Seeing if there's anything impotent. I mean impotent. Or impotent. Oh, look. Bedtime lullabies. That'll work. Oh, this is good. At least, I think it'd be good. The topic's good. The Angry Prepper, and the video is how to get your kids into prepping. It's something we need to really start sitting down and talking to Blue about.
Okay, YouTubers, this is the Angry Prepper. So today's video is going to be on how to get your kids into prepping. Now, my kids are slowly, kids, little dudes, girls, whatever you want to call them, they're getting into prepping, but very, very slowly. And I thought about this a few times. A lot of interviews I've done, people have asked me, how do you get the kids involved, or what do they think about prepping? I normally tell them they're not really into prepping because I don't spook them with the bullshit. I'm not sitting there, listen, if the world ends, this is what you need to do. If me and your mom die, this is what you need to do. So instead, I took a different approach. And my approach was get them in the movies. All right, get them into those end of the world movies that are fun, not too realistic like The Road, but realistic enough that even in their heads they'll entertain the possibility of this happening, right? So, for example, I just did the movie review, or prepper movie review on I Am Legend. My kids have watched that movie probably 10 times or better. They've also watched World War Z, which they really, really like. But they had asked us what would happen, or myself, they had asked what would happen if that actually went down. What would we do? And I told them, I said we would stay here if we couldn't get out of the city. But if we had the chance to leave, we would leave. Something like that, that's spreading that fast, we would probably wind up staying here just because it's moving faster than we would anticipate. And they were like, but what about food and water? I said, well, this is why we have food and water in this closet. And I showed them the closet. And then they're like, okay. And then that was it, right? They left it alone. So then they would watch I Am Legend and ask, how would we handle a situation like this? I said, well, we would keep very quiet in the apartment at night. I said, and during the day, we would go around and, look for food and water like Will Smith did in the movie. And they were like, that makes sense, okay. So now, I'm not spooking them. They're getting a kick out of the action in the movie and the storyline itself in these movies. And then they're asking me questions because they're trying to problem solve themselves. So in their head, they're problem solving by asking me, what would we do? So now, the next step was taking my kids outdoors, right? Teaching them survival skills and why they need to learn those survival skills. I didn't turn around and say, well, if the world ends tomorrow, you need to learn how to survive out here. I didn't do that. I just said, you know what? If you get lost, you should know what to do. If you can't find mommy and daddy, you should be able to survive out here till someone finds you. And this is what you do. So now my son, who gets a kick out of the outdoors, he's like, okay, he knows how to start a fire with his ferro rod. He knows how to process wood to get the fire started. He knows that he has to build a little ring so that the fire doesn't spread. So to beat that into his head more than anything else. But he's got the idea. Now, the problem with that is, how do you test that, right? I could, leave him in the woods by himself and get reported to child services, right? I teach him, I show him, he shows me how to start a fire, which is good, but the only true test is to leave them out there on their own to see what they do. Can't really do that. So how do you test them? That's one problem. Depends on where you live, you might be able to pull that off. Here in New York State, I'm not sure if I can pull that off. And if they don't panic, what do, right? So now, I tried little things like moving my shelter further and further away from my son, but he's still not ready for that, right? So he has to stay, he's now sleeping in a tent on his own.
Before I had to sleep in a tent with him. Now his tent's right next to my hammock, but at least we're in 2 different shelters. So we're learning to spread out, and I'm teaching him how to be less fearful of the woods. My daughter, on the other hand, she would probably rather bug in and not leave. Getting her out to the woods is like, I don't know, dealing with a terrorist, man, because she just doesn't want to, it's like I have to make compromises just to get her to come outside, let alone sleep out in the wilderness. But she's getting there. So if you're looking to get your kids into prepping, you have to do it in steps. You can't do the shock value thing. You can't, all of a sudden kick the door in their room like, yo, this shit's going to end. This is what we need to do. You can't all of a sudden start doing it either. You have to do it slowly. And you have to get them interested in why you're doing certain things around the house. So they start asking questions. It starts to become normal for them. And then they start thinking, what could they do to help if something bad happened, right? So my son's always looking to help. And I would utilize that during a disaster. My daughter too. During a disaster, I would utilize their help, because a helping kid is going to get their mind off of what's actually going on. And if they can contribute and it makes them feel better, by all means, utilize their help within a certain danger level. Because obviously, if they're helping, it's already dangerous. But if that danger level exceeds them dying, then obviously they can't do it. You can't have them help. But if it has them, risking, catching a cold or possibly getting hurt, use your judgment, right? Because during prepping area, you cannot completely shelter. During a disaster, especially a worldwide, national disaster, you can't baby your kids anymore. Suffice it to say, they're going to have to grow the hell up right then and there and work. That's also age pending too. Sorry, I'm not saying get your 2-year-old to carry a gun and help you, scout out the area. I'm just saying within reason of age and their abilities, you're going to want them to help during the disaster. Right, guys, so this is The Angry Prepper. Thank you for watching. You can like and subscribe to this channel. You can like and subscribe to my outdoor channel. And if you're into photography, you can also like and subscribe to the Angry Lensman channel. Right, guys, thank you for watching.
Alrighty, fun. Let me see if I can find something that's just a couple of minutes. Dabu often has like 2-minute videos. Here we go. We'll check this one out. This will do it. Dabu7 with a video titled Giant Sinkhole Opens Up and Swallows Bus at Red Light in Pittsburgh. What was my mom doing in Pittsburgh?
This is Dabu7. I gotta give a shout out to the crew and everyone else out there that sends information my way. A giant sinkhole here opening up and swallowing a bus in downtown Pittsburgh. This was during morning rush hour this morning. The Port Authority saying that the bus was stopped at a light when the hole opened up and swallowed it. And you can see here, it's sitting up in the air. The people obviously had to get out off the front or had to get help out of here. But no one was critically injured or anything like that. No one killed. But massive sinkhole swallowing up a bus here. It's not something you see every day. I'm going to run some footage here of this. I'll leave a link below. If you guys got anything like this, let me know. Dabu7yahoo.com. Much love, y'all.
Interesting. That being said, I am getting out of here. I am looking forward to finding that pillow and we'll see you all tomorrow. So I appreciate everybody coming. God willing, we'll be back tomorrow. God willing, I'll have sleep. And hope to see you then. As always, God bless you. We love you. And be one with your spirit.